Real women, real stories, one unforgettable day. From deep conversations about money to shifting how we think, spend, and give.
The conversations about money hazikuangi top of my mind.
Unapata labda my expenditure is higher than my income. Now what do I do?
We know the world where we are today, money is the transaction of everything.
Money answers all your problem.
So you need to notice, you need to understand, and you need to act on money realities that affect your daily life.
We face the hard topics like contraceptives head on.
There are pills, coil, implants, ya kuniile ya kupita menopause. Sio ni freestyle.
Savannah Hospital gave us real health gems. Wait till you see the rest.
My name is Pastor Zipe Kamal, a pastor in MICM Body of Christ, that is Might Meet International Church Ministries.
I am Mrs. Deuri. I fellowship at MICM Church, that is along Pathway, Gong Road. I serve as assistant pastor in this church.
My name is Stacy Maritim. I am a member of Mind Meet International Church Ministries. Here in the church, I serve as a leader, I'm a leader among the ladies, formerly a leader among the youth, and also on Sundays, I serve as a facilitator for the service.
My name is Sally Gadhoni Kamau. I'm a member of Mind Meet International Church Ministries. I'm one of the church leaders.
Today we have our annual women's seminar where we have really learned a lot. We thank God. We had two programs or two topics that we needed to cover. First, we had to learn about financial management. And the second one, we wanted to know about our well-being, our healthy being.
Today was a day about the ladies. We call ourselves the His Love Unites Ladies. We had our annual seminar, and our focus was on financial wellness and health issues around women. We got to learn a lot around finances, where I was the keynote speaker of the day. We talked about managing your finances. We talked about budgeting. We talked about where to get knowledge about finances. We also talked about savings and so much more. So much was learned, so much was asked. And this is not the end. We'll do this again. For the health, our minds were blown by Dr. Dorel from Savannah Hospital.
Today has been an exciting day. The ladies' seminar has been very educative. I loved the turnout. I loved the energy. One of the key takeaways from today's session was, number one, the importance of having correct financial information. Number two, the importance of budgeting. As women, of course, we're entrusted with funds that go towards financing our day-to-day lives for our families. So as people who are interested with these funds, it's important to budget properly. It's important to save. And also, when we are saving, it's important to save in platforms where you get some form of interest and not just having money lying around. So that was a very key takeaway for me.
This is something that was an eye-opener to me, because I was able to understand how I can plan for my money. And at the end of it all, I will not cry, rather I'll be grateful, or I will enjoy because of today's teaching. Let alone we have learned about our health issues. We had a group from Savannah Hospital, whereby they have educated us concerning our bodies. They were really measuring on our health concerning women and how our bodies do operate. We've learned about where we can be able to screen. And the screening can only take, after the screening, you can go for 3 years. And so I have seen it a good thing, because many a times is when we normally get worried so much because of cervical cancer. But today I will go home happy because I know how to handle some issues that have been so worrying in my life.
There is no amount that is too little to be budgeted. I've been taught about financial discipline, and it was an eye-opener whereby sometimes we complain that our finances are too minimal, just to realize that if only we lived a well-disciplined financial life whereby the much that we get or the little that we get, we are able to have an overview of our expenditures. That was really an eye-opener.
We understand that a woman changes throughout, from when she's a young girl to when you become an adolescent to when you actually become a young lady to a mother to all the way when you're older, and now there's menopause. There's so much in the stages of the life of a woman, and he took us through all that. And what really stood out for me is that we need to know that we are unique, and we need to know that as women, the changes in our bodies do not mean that we should suffer. There are right ways to go through them. And if you feel that you're suffering, this might be a call to actually go and seek help.
As women, it's important to maintain our reproductive health. It's important to go for your checkups, your regular checkups. It's important to be aware of your health status so that we can be able to, live our best lives and also be the best sisters, mothers, friends to everyone in society.
I'm a superwoman. I'm a superwoman. Yeah, superwoman. 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 I'm a superwoman. I'm a superwoman. Yeah, superwoman. Superwoman. Mwanamke ni mama, mwalimu wa kwanza duniani. Tumboni alitubeba, akatulea, akatufundisha.
Zile zama za mwanamke hawezi, hapana, siku hizi hakuna. Tunashiriki vyema wanchi ujenzi na tena tunajituma. Hey.
Hata kulima, kushona, ubani unahodha, mti kuongoza, udakitari baba, wasikari dada, tunawaza.
Praise God. Praise God again. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. So, my name is Sally Kamau, and I want to share the program with you. Welcome to the annual seminar for MICM, His Love Unites Ladies. I'm happy to see all of you. And we've been planning for quite a while, and we thank God that He has made this day that finally we've come together for us to attend the seminar. So I'm excited because the program looks interesting, looks exciting. We are here to learn, and so I want to encourage kila mtu akuje na an open mind, a learning spirit, ask as many questions as possible, and I'm sure we will all be blessed at the end of the day. So I will run through the program ndio tujue tulianzia wapi, tunaenda wapi na tutamalizia wapi. So we had scheduled for the seminar to start at 9:45, and arrival of guests was to happen from 9:45 to 10 a.m. I'm seeing most of us have attended, and as Teacher Kevin has said, if you had invited someone, mwambie harakishe because the program has started. And then from there, we went to opening prayers and welcome remarks from Pastor Zippy. And then we dived into praise and worship and devotion. And then currently we are closing out on the breakfast, but feel free kama hujakula unaweza endea, kama hujashiba bado kuna chai, bado kuna uji, bado kuna mipochopocho. So after breakfast we are almost winding up. Next we will go to discussion on financial wellness. And Stacy, our very own Stacy, is going to take us through this. And this will be happening, I'm seeing it's currently 11:23, but she will take us through financial wellness hadi 1 p.m. Then from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., we will break for lunch. Then from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., we will have an open panel discussion. So hapa we are opening the panel to questions, to people discussing. And then from 3 to 4 p.m., we will have a health talk. So please make sure usisikwe na haraka. We will have a doctor from Savannah Hospital to come talk to us, a physician. And then from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., we'll have Q&A, which is question and answer. So if you have any questions for the physician, please feel free. Kuuliza maswali. Then we'll have closing remarks and prayers. So our target is kumaliza by 5 p.m. sharp, and we will all be blessed. Sindio? So I will transition us to the next stage of the program, which is discussion on financial wellness by Stacy. Let's give her a round of applause. Akikuja.
I want us to play a small game. So I recently went to a meeting where we played this game and I loved it. Nikasema, so jana nikilala nikiunda hii game. So ukipata spelling error ni kwa sababu nilikuwa na usingizi mahali. But anyway, nataka kupatia kila mtu a piece of paper. Chukua, patia huyu mwingine na usifungue. It's just a few questions to help us start thinking about money. Usifungue. So we are going to nominate a few people from where we are seated to open theirs. But the others, yako ibaki ikiwa imefungwa, tutafungua at the end of the session. So kwa meza yenu, kama mko wawili, mmoja ndio atafungua. Kama mko wanne, jigawe mara mbili. Mkiwa watano, muamue kama nataka watatu ama wawili. I believe we have mics around. So tuchakari naona kwa peke yake. So atafungua yake atusome na ajibu. Na wengine msifungue zenyu.
Mine says, which friend or family member do you think manages money well and why? Which friend or family member do you think manages money well and why? Manages.
Nani anatumianga vizuri pesa kwao and why?
Well, I think in this case, a family member means
someone in your family, not necessarily your nuclear family, it could be extended family.
I think my sister manages money well.
Why?
Because even the time she says that she's broke, I see most of her things working.
Okay, that's a good response. The next table, we get two people. Unafungua kama umetusomea, hatutaki tufikirie sana answer.
What one finances gone you have been postponing and what's the real blocker?
Hiyo inauliza, what is one financial goal you have been postponing? Unasema nitafanya na ufanye. Na kwa nini unadhani ufanye?
Kwangu mimi ninaweza sema nikisema ninafanya na sifanyi ni labda saa zingine sina pesa ya kutosha.
Mimi hiyo kufanya.
Ama nikitumia ama.
Tukisema financial goal, kuna kitu umeamua utafanya. Tuseme umeishi kusema nitanunua suti nyeusi. Lakini tangu January bado hujanunua hiyo suti.
Kwangu nikisema nitanunua kitu na sifanyi, ninaona pesa naifanyia mahesabu haitoshi kama nguo kwangu.
Sawa. Tuendelee. Hizi vitu zote tutaguzilia. What expense would she cut without lowering her quality of life?
Mimi siwezi ongelea pesa sahihi, but I'm still children. Maybe mtu mwingine ajui serious.
Nominate mtu mwenye unaona si children na kusaidia kujibu hiyo. Chagua mtu. Nancy. Nasaidiwa kuna msichana. Swali nasema, what is one expense you can cut and it will not change the quality of your life?
Like buying so many clothes.
Buying clothes. So ukitoa nguo kwa budget, your quality of life will still be okay.
It will still be okay.
So thank you. Let's take a question from your table.
It's me. Mine is leading. Do you think money is evil? It's me who's asking. To me, there is a statement that we all know. Money is the root of all evil. But me, I will go contrary to it. And I will say this, money is power. With money answers all your problem. So money, well used, it can be a blessing. When badly spent, it can be unable to happen.
I agree. Tunasemanga the love of money, not money itself, the love.
The love of it.
The table at the front, what were we?
Which money move scares you the most, and what information could you reduce that fear? Sasa yangu ni spenda.
Yeah. So swali inauliza which money move. Tuseme kuna kitu unafaa kufanya na pesa yako, but hufanyangi because you feel that's like a scary thing. Inakuogopesha kidogo. Nauliza which money move. Nisome tena. Thank you.
Which money move scares you the most, and what information could you reduce that fear?
So the question is something you need to do with money. So you know all the things you can do with money. So which thing, when you think about it, you wouldn't do because you feel you do not have enough information to put your money in that thing? Ni kitu gani huwezi fanya na pesa yako juu unaona ni risky?
Buying some clothes.
Buying clothes risky. What's the risk?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. The next question. Let's hear from Helen and Mamasi.
describe a side hustle you think could add at least 10,000 a month to your income?
Side hustle gani unaona inaweza kuongezea a substantial amount, not necessarily 10, it could be 5, but kitu unaweza fanya on the side that would increase your money.
Okay. Sema ukiwa na hiyo side hustle, unaweza uza tuseme mayai, unaweza ongeza pesa kama unaweza ongeza pesa ama kuuza coffee.
Ni sawa. Thank you so much kwa nyo mejibu. Wengine tufunge karatasi zetu tusitungulie. We will come back, and if time does not allow, then at the end of the session I will allow you to look at your answers. Masi nimeona umefungua yako, so nitakubadilishia. But anyway, so now let us proceed. I just wanted us, your part, itusaidie just to start thinking. Sijawasahau. Who are you nominating? Tuambie.
Would you lend a friend 50K? Would you lend a friend 50K? Personally, I would.
Why?
I think I do not have much attachment with money, and there before I have maybe done more than even 50K. So if I have and I feel that this is what you need, I would not hesitate to do it.
Okay, thank you. It's very interesting that the pastor alipata hiyo swali. There's a pastor I listened to, alikuwa, you know, that attitude that she does not have attachment to money. Then with the people in God, especially pastors who serve, they have a lot of faith. Wanajua itarudi. There's this pastor I listened to, alisema they do not save for a rainy day because they know God will provide. However, akasema, you know how tukiwatch wrestling, ilikuwa inasema do not try this at home. Akatuambia do not try this if your faith is not sufficient. Kama faith yako itafika kaa yangu, please go and save for that rainy day. Anyway, she would give someone because she knows it will come back. But me? 50. I would not. I'll tell you I have 5. Anyway, let us proceed. There is no wrong answer. We say personal finance is personal. It's not the same for everyone. So I want us to talk about financial awareness. What we are doing here today is to ensure we are financially aware. So what is financial awareness? And why does it matter? Financial awareness, if I may read, is the ability to notice, to understand, and to act on money realities that affect your daily life. We know the world where we are today, money is the transaction of everything. You can hardly go anywhere if you don't have money. You can hardly do anything without, you cannot even live without money, because you need a roof over your head, you need to pay that rent. Even when we were young and we were staying home and we started earning, we were told to pick something that you want to be paid. Atakama ni maji. So you need to notice, you need to understand, and you need to act on money realities that affect your daily life. I hear, and wakili yako hapa anaweza ni correct, that in the constitution there's somewhere it says you shouldn't be walking around without money. Is it true? Niliwaisikia kitu kama hiyo, but it was probably misplaced because I was using it against my mother to tell her why she needs to give me money. Because the constitution says I cannot be walking around without 200 shillings. But anyway, when you're financially aware, you notice, you understand, and you act. You could notice, but you don't understand. And if you don't understand, there is a risk. So at a personal level, financial awareness could mean you know your numbers. Unajua how much do you get. You're aware, hauko ule mtu tumeita avoider. You're aware how much your business brings in. One mistake I have seen with business owners when nimefanya nao kazi is that they live a day at a time. leo pesa imeingia, ndio stock ya kesho, ndio all expenses. At the end of the month, this business owner might not know what their numbers are. What are they actually bringing in? What are their expenses? What are their profits? It also means that you're able to see the bigger picture. You know, with this money of mine, what am I expected to do? How are prices expected to increase? Like during COVID, when COVID hit, people really needed to see the bigger picture. Tunajua si nchi imefungwa. So in a month's time, you needed to know that you need to stock up food for tomorrow. So you need to foresee things that are going to happen in the economy, sana sana. The prices of things. When we used to see that dollar inapanda, si vitu zilikuwa zinapanda bei. Those are things you need to be able to foresee. And see until they just come randomly. There are things you need to be actively searching for this information, or asking people you feel are in a better position to know this information. It also means that you need to spot risks and opportunities. Do not fall in the same trap I fell into. Do not fall in the traps of gambling that your money will double. Do not fall in the trap of even putting your money in a bank that collapses. Tunajua kuna banks zishaifungwa. Even right now on the news, it's that so many circles are going down. So your money is in a circle. What do? You needed to have been aware and spotted that risk early on. Or alternatively, you need to spot opportunities. There are people who jumped on things that are giving them money now. They were able to buy shares, people who love buying shares. And now, for instance, people who bought shares with Safaricom. I don't know, Pastor Kama ametupea his story before. They once bought shares and then later on, they had that great reward. I feel like I've had a story like that. Yeah. So people who, for instance, invested in Safaricom when it was starting off, I think walikuwa na buy share na 5 bob or even cents. Sahi share Safaricom hata inunuliki. So if you had shares then, so many years later, the opportunity is there for you. Lastly, you need to make timely decisions. You need to choose when to spend, when to save, when to borrow, when to invest, and have a clear goal for your money. So it's more than just saying this is my money. You need to know what is your money and what can it do for you. So the question is, how do I become financially aware? Nimesema vitu mingi. Nimesema kupredict, kujua opportunity, kujua prices are rising, kujua dollar iko juu. So in your busy schedule, in your everyday life, how do you become financially aware? So first of all, you need to seek knowledge. This knowledge, huwezi stumble upon it anywhere. Lazima usome, kama wewe ni mtu wa kusoma gazeti. Hata kama uko pale TikTok, unajua kuna influencers wako hapo speaking about money. Wherever you are, even here in the church, you know, we have people who can speak about money. You need to seek knowledge in all the ways possible. And if you hear people say something, that's usually the first step. Ukisikia watu wakisema ni kama kutakuwa na this economic hurdle, it now triggers you to go and look for more information. At the very least, skiza news, skiza radio. There's always something that you can pick out when they are speaking about business and the economy. Secondly, you need to track your money, which is what we will dwell on a lot today. You need to intentionally ask people you feel are knowledgeable. And lastly, you need to apply this skill. Ukishapata hizi vitu zote, you need to apply, otherwise it will have been in vain. And the last part is you need to repeat. What you know today will have changed next year. So you need to constantly seek knowledge, track your money, ask, apply, and repeat. We are clear? Any questions? So
I didn't get right the last point, that is apply and repeat.
Apply the knowledge that you've gotten. If you hear, for instance, there's an opportunity and you do not jump on the opportunity, then you knowing that there was an opportunity was of no use. In whichever way you're going to apply the information you get. The repeat part is that times are always changing. The knowledge you have today or the things you've learned today, next year hazitakuwa hizo. There'll be something new. So you need to constantly seek knowledge. You need to ask people. You need to constantly track your money. You need to apply everything you've learned. Then you repeat. Not in any specific order. You could choose to ask today, You could choose to seek knowledge tomorrow. You could choose to start with tracking your money. But the thing is, do all and keep repeating. So we go into budgeting, which is the question that brought us here today. Someone asked, how do you actually budget your money? Si tunaelewa ku budget? Yes, Mrs. Taylor?
At that point, I feel there is a question I want to ask. What we were told, you even do not have a saving. How are you going to track your money? How are you going to apply the skills and to seek knowledge?
So all these things do not require you to have a saving. You're seeking knowledge, not because you have a saving. But if you sought knowledge today and heard that, for instance, Kenya inafanyika kwa nation, tusikie there are rumors on the street that serikali inaimpose kitu ya kufunga movement. Lockdown. Yes, there is a lockdown and it's whole day lockdowns for 1 week. That means you will not be able to leave your house. So whether you have savings or not, are we going to sleep hungry? No. So you need to plan yourself. You might not have savings, but you know, I have enough money for the whole month. So I would rather plan for this 1 week of lockdown, and then when the lockdown is lifted, tutajipanga. That's like what I'm saying, seeking knowledge, knowing what is about to happen. Even when you seek knowledge, you might find opportunities that might actually be able to give you more. For instance, if you're seeking a side hustle, you're seeking to increase your income, if you do not actively seek knowledge of where these opportunities are, how will you be able to jump on them? Tracking your money, you don't track your money because you have savings. You track your money so that you're able to have some to save. But if we are always spending without tracking, how will we ever get to saving the money? And that brings us to our discussion about budgeting. Like I said, the most important thing is to, of course, seek knowledge, but also to track your spending. Because again, if you have nothing to spend, well, how do you proceed? So you must be able to track your money and see what you need to spend, what you need to be able to save, what you need to be able to invest. Nikauliza sisi wote tunaelewa the term budgeting, kupanga pesa.
Maybe you can help us understand the term tracking our money. I think that one may be a bit hard for us. Tracking our expenses, our expenditures.
Okay, I would like to support your tracking with budgeting. What I mean is you need to know how much do you earn, whether you're in employment or in business. You need to be able to say, in business it could be periodic, every week, every month, every quarter. In employment, tunajua ni end month, ama at the end of the day also, people who are paid daily. So you need to know how much are you bringing in, how much are your expenses. You need to sit down and list down your expenses. That's what we call tracking your money. And then if you have anything left over, what do I do with this that's left over? But you find most of the time, you receive your money and you just start spending. By the time inafika, there's this theory ya pesa ikiingia sana sana mshahara tunakulanga kuku. The next week tunakulanga parts za kuku. Umeanza kununua shingo pale nje, gizzards, miguu. The next week sasa unakula chakula ya kuku. Sasa tunaanza kukula githeri, mahindi. That is what happens when we don't track our money. Because you did not, you know you love eating chicken, but you have not decided how many chickens can I buy. When I say, in the whole month, I know I can only afford 2. So nichukue hizo mbili kwa budget, nizimpime nijue kila wiki nitakula kuku. But the worst thing, if by the time inafika week 4, nakuanga nikikula githeri. So that is where tracking your money comes in. That's what I mean by tracking. Knowing how much you're bringing in, how much you're spending, and how much is left over. And that's where budgeting comes in. So I like thinking of budgeting kama compass. Si mnajua compass, ile iko na north, south, east, hivyo. So ni kitu ya kupea pesa yako direction. And unlike a compass, you know in a compass, north is north. It will always be north. A budget is for you. Your north could be someone else's, south could be someone else's, west. So here, I will give us a framework. It does not mean you need to kufanya venye iko, but it is to guide you as to how you need to be able to budget your money or track your money. Like I have said, it's a financial compass, and it's deliberate to be able to pangia every shilling that you expect to receive. And I say expecting because you're supposed to budget before you receive the money. Especially if you're employed, you know how much utapata at the end of the month. So you can plan for it before it comes. If you're in business, there's now a process where we need now to relook the previous month or be intentional about looking this month how much is going to come in, so that now in the coming month I am able to draw up a budget. So in practice, it means, like I've said, projecting your income, listing your expenses, allocating the money on purpose, tracking and adjusting. I will talk about tracking and adjusting later on. So step by step, this is where now we can write. If you don't have a book, you have some notepads here. But naona kila mtu ako na kitabu. So step by step before we go into the details. First of all, know your net income. Nikisema net income, namaanisha kama unakatango tax, kama employer na kukatanga NHIF, SHIF, NSSF, hizo zote, housing levy, ama kama kuna business expenses. Those who are in business know that huwezi kula pesa ya stock. Right? So lazima ujue, after all my business expenses, how much do I pay myself as a business owner, and this is what I take home. So know your income. So I want you to take time to think about your income. If you're in business, this cannot be a fixed figure. For now, you can estimate. Know your income, because we must do this very practically. And then add any income from side hustles. Like tumeambiwa na Helen, unaweza kuwa unauzanga kahawa, viatu, coffee, over and above your employment income, if at all you're not in business. So know how much your side hustle brings in. For business owners, if your income is irregular, look at the past 3 months. Or start with the worst scenario. It's always good to plan the worst scenarios. Mozi, when things don't go right, what is the least I can make in a month? If you're also in business, you can decide to observe your spending or your expenditure on how your business works for at least 7 days or 1 month. Then the next part, that covers the income. The next part is to write down all your expenses. So expenses ni zile vitu unalipianga na pesa yako. So ni vitu gani tunalipianga na pesa zetu? For instance, tunalipanga rent, wazazi wanalipanga school fees, kuna kununua nguo, kuna kulipa maji. Gani nimeacha? Mtu anaweza sema stima, wifi, transport, ingine, chakula, school fees, transport. Pardon? Kuna wenye wanalipa employees salaries exactly. Unaweza kuwa unapeanga mtoto pocket money. Kuna nywele, we are ladies. Lazima upange pesa ya nywele, ya kucha, ya eyelashes, wenye wanaekanga, ya makeup, ya lipstick. So think about all those expenses. You don't have to list all of them right now, but you can list the major ones: my rent, water bills, Wi-Fi, stima. Vitu kama stima na maji najua zina changing, but by now you know natumianga units ngapi. And then next, we will sort these expenses. So this is the first step in budgeting. The first step is knowing the income. The second step is knowing your expenses and sorting them. So when we are sorting the expenses, we usually classify them into wants, into needs, it's like nilitoa your part. But I was saying we sort them into wants, into needs, and into savings. So needs sana hukua the fixed expenses. Nitarudia, nimesema kuna needs, kuna wants, na kuna savings. The three of them. Wants ni WANTS. Kitu unataka, I want. Want. Something I want. I want that, I want. The needs, I need that, I need. Savings, si tunajua savings. So the thing is, the needs are things you need. Na sana sana they are fixed expenses. That if we remove them, you cannot survive. They have to be there. For instance, can you choose to pay your rent? Unaweza amua hii mwezi silipi rent, utafukuzwa. Unaweza amua hii term silipi school fees. Unaweza amua ulipi KPLC, watakata tu stima. So hizo ndizo needs. Na sana sana ni vitu lazima kila mwezi lazima ikue. So those are the things you cannot do without. You either reduce them, but you cannot do without. So think, kwa hizo expenses ulifikiria, angalia ni gani ni needs. Need ingine ni chakula. You have to buy food. Food expenses. Transport is also a need. If you go to work every day, nimesikia mtu akisema hapo basic needs. Yes. Sana sana basic needs. Food, clothing and shelter. Clothing is not very a need. We can play with clothing a little bit because you don't need to buy clothes every month. It's a want. So next we have the wants. These are things you can do without. But because we must live the good life we have been given, you must have wants. Sindio? You must buy clothes. You must do your hair. These are things I want to do. They're not necessary. I can do an expensive hair this month, lakini pesa ikia kidogo itabidi nimeshukwa kitu tofauti ama nimepiga blow dry na we continue moving on. So that is a want. It is something you can substitute entirely with something else. Yani unaweza replace. Ama you can do away with it. Now even for needs, in the needs when you go to the particulars, you'll find inside the needs there are wants. For instance, ukiweka food expenses. If things are bad, you don't have to eat chicken this month. So the food expenses is there, but if we need to adjust, you now go into food expenses, you break it down. Unaona hapa hii 5,000 ya food kwani ni nini tunakula? Itabidi ondoa hii na hii, right? So we are talking about the wants. Another want you find, I always want to go out. Nataka guy to take the family somewhere for lunch every month. That is a want. So it's something you can list there. Ni want gani ingine tunaweza fikiria? Tumesema kununua nguo, kujivinjari, kutengeneza kucha. Another want. Yes, outings, hair, makeup, nails, clothes.
Traveling.
Second, you have something? No, it's okay, it's fine. You can think about celebrating birthdays. Watu wa January hapo ndio tunakatango kwa watu. Watu wa December hapo wanakuanga kwa needs. But ni sawa. So this is exactly what I mean. In January mzazi si analipa school fees. Wewe birthday yako utangoja fedha. Na ikifika fedha wapigani. Ikifika December umewekwa kwa needs. We have to celebrate. But those are the kind of things we can do without. If you're tukiziondoa there, and they are necessary, but they can be unnecessary. Okay? Yes. And then we have the savings. So savings is money you need to put aside for a specific reason. I will touch a little bit on savings hapo mbele, because you can be saving for different things. You can be saving, and I try to discourage people to not save for wants unless it's necessary. You can save for traveling, right? So you can say, December for instance, commonly watu huenda Mombasa ama wanaenda Ushago. So badala December, the problem is sasa in December, ukipata pesa, we spend everything and forget about January. But if you plan for that trip for Mombasa since January, ukaona this trip will cost me 10,000. So I need to save 1,000 from January. So come December, sipendui mambo yote alafu nikirudi January nikulia. So those are things you can save for. You can even save for school fees. So unajuanga school fees hatulipangi kila mwezi. Although these days schools allow you to do that. But if your school says lazima mulipe term ikianza, it's something you can save for in the past 3 months. So unaweza yeka hapo kwa savings. Kitu ingine unaweza save for. You can save if you want to upgrade something in your home. Umeamua nataka kununua kitanda mpya, viti mpya, kwa savings hapo. Unataka kusave long term goal, unataka kujenga, hapo ndio iko kwa savings. Even short term, unataka kuhama, hapo ndio savings iko. Unataka kusoma, wenye wamejiita children. Hata pastor bado anasoma. Mnadhani ana pesa imetoka wapi? Kuna savings. You have to plan for savings. Something else I will not forget, hapo just before savings, mimi ninawekanga tithe. Sini ya kila mwezi as Christians. So umeweka hapo tithe and offering, then tuko na savings, then tuko na needs, and lastly tuko na ya mwisho ni returns. Tumebakisha gani? Tumesema savings, needs and wants. Yes. So the question is, how do you divide your money when you have all these things? How do you know what goes where? So there are certain frameworks. Like I said, it doesn't work for everyone the same way. So we are going to use a framework to help guide you. So here niko na 4 frameworks. So utachukua the one that fits you best. The first 2, which are the most common ones, are frameworks that are percentages. So ya kwanza inaitwa 50, 30, 20. So 50% unaweka needs. Needs ndio zinachukuanga pesa mingi. Hiyo rent, stima, chakula, transport. So 50% of your income should go to your needs. So tuchukue for instance 10k ndio unapatanga. So 10k 50% ni 5k. So kama rent yako ishafika hiyo 5k, kwanza kuna makosa. Assuming you're earning 10. Because ishachukua needs yote. So huna pesa imebaki ya transport, ya utilities. So 50% for the needs, things that, those basic needs. Then 30% is for the wants. But you can flip this. So the things you want to do, the hair you want to do, the clothes you want to do, the traveling, the outings, the eating. So the ones, they go 30%. So for 10k, 30% ni 30% itakuwa how much? Itakuwa 3k. Yeah, so as tunachukua 10k kama assumption, ndio hesabu ipigike vizuri. So once zitakuwa 3k. So kwa hiyo 3k, patoshe nywele, patoshe kucha, patoshe nini ingine, nguo, patoshe birthday, ujue venye zitaingia kwa hiyo 3k. Alafu kuna 20k. So 20k hii ni ya savings na pia debt. Hapo kwa savings pia unaweza weka debt. Kama uko na deni yoyote, prioritize kumaliza hiyo deni. Allocate more to the debt and a little bit to savings, because it's always good to be debt free. So 20% of 10,000 ni 2k. So hiyo 2k uko na loan ya Mshwari, uko na loan ya Tala, Fuliza, branch, waeke hapo. Hata kama ulikopa kitambo na wanakudai, wapangie tu atakao tuwapea 200 per month. Alafu kwa hiyo 2k pia panga. December tulisema tunaenda wapi as a family? Tunataka kuenda kutembea Mombasa. So kwa hiyo 2k tutaput aside how much ndio itoshe at the end of the year. Ukiona at the end of the year hii ndio iko, itabidi maybe tumeadjust. Hatutaenda Diani, tutaenda Nyali. Tuna adjust hivyo. And also you can twist, you can change the savings and the wants. You can decide, I really want to save a lot. So maybe nita save 30%, nijikaze 20% ya wants. Si lazima 30% ikuwe wants. Like I have said, ni vile utaona. So unaweza amua 3k nita save, 3k ndio nita save, alafu 2k ibaki ya wants. Kila kitu ijue venye itatoshea hapo. So this one, that framework is beginner friendly, and it is good for people with a steady income, because you always know at the end of the month I will get this. The next one, which is quite similar to the first one, is 60, 10, 30. So 60% zinaenda kwa the needs. You can find that pesa si mingi, but then we need to spend on the necessary things. So you can say instead of 50%, instead of 5K, let us spend 6K. Because maybe the family is big, so we need a slightly bigger house, so rent ni mingi kidogo. And then 10% can go to wants. So tunajifinya tu zaidi. Then 30% can go to savings or debt. But the important thing is cover your needs first. Usiende kupangia pesa ya sherehe kama huja cover needs. So you can cover your needs and adjust if necessary, put a percentage to it. Hata ikifika 70, it's fine. But ukipata needs zako pia ni mingi sana, angalia a long-term plan ya kuona vile utazipunguza. Maybe there's something you can cut, right? So that you reduce the needs and you're able to allocate more money to the savings and to the wants if you want to want things. Then the next one is zero-based. You might find ukipanga pesa yako haishangi, so you might prefer usitumie hizi percentages. Wewe ulist two expenses zote, uziallocate hadi pesa ibaki zero. That is also an option. Instead of doing percentages, you actually go and put the amounts. That could also work very well. And it works a lot, especially if you have variable income. It's not always the same. This can work if you're in business. And if you love detail, hutaki ati sasa nimepea needs 60%, kuna 500 imebaki haina mahali pa kuenda. So hutaki tu ibaki tu hivyo. So if you want detail, si lazima utumie the percentages. Unaweza list every expense as it is. The challenge I find with this zero-based, you might find sasa maji ikibadilika this month, na wewe ushafanya zero-based, umebaki zero. You'll have to go and reduce somewhere else so that it can fit on this other thing. Although that is not bad, because every month you're allowed to adjust to incorporate the new changes. Then the last one mostly supports all the others. It's to put your money in envelopes. In this time and age, this is not very advisable. But if you feel, mimi hata nikiallocate aje bado nitakula, you can decide after ushalipa the fixed expenses, vitu hazibadilikangi, pesa imebaki, chukua bahasha uandike clothes, weke hapo ya clothes. Uchukue ingine uandike transport, weke hapo 1000 ya transport. Unajuanga hii nikitoa hapa narudisha. It doesn't have to be physical envelope, it can be a pass. But also, you do not need to be carrying a lot of money around because of your security. But this is just something to support, especially if you feel you are an overspender and you need to put a hard stop on yourself. So ni framework gani unaona can work for you? Kuna hiyo ya percentages 50 30 20 60 10 30. Kuna hiyo zero based, you just rather list kila kitu. Na kuna hiyo kuweka pesa kwa bahasha. It can change. In my case hata situmiangi 50. I think nakuanga 55%. Alafu kuna 10% ya time. Alafu kuna hizo vingine how they go. So it doesn't have to be fixed. If you look at your expenses, you can tweak kidogo ikuwe for 45. Kama needs zako si mingi, well and good. In fact, if you can reduce your needs, one way to reduce your needs is to increase your income. Unajua income ikikuwa mingi, pia the percentage of needs can go down and you're able to save more. So the goal is to increase your income and increase how much you save and reduce your needs. But if things are tight, increase the needs and you can reduce the wants and reduce the savings where necessary. But usiguze 10% ya tight. So hata ukifanya percentage yako unabakisha hiyo 10% pale juu. Alright. So I want us to do this practically. Like I have said, hii mambo ya finance, nimeifikiria for some time. So I have a tool that you can use to see exactly how to go about this. So, sijui kama inaonekana, can you zoom in? Naona, tafadhali. So this is a tool I developed. It's hosted online, but you can use it. It helps you actually practically plan your money, because unaweza andika leo kwa kitabu, kesho upate hiyo kitabu, au kumbuki ulisema nitanunua nguo na 1000, na sasa usikumbuki, wacha tu nikatumia 5k basi. So it's somewhere you can always find, but I want us to do it practically ndio tuone how exactly to go about it. So tulisema number 1 ni ku know your income, know your money. So hapo juu you can see kuna section ya income. So kuna allocations mbili, the fixed income, the money you know you will always get, or other income in case you have a side hustle. In my case, I put 10,000 because ndio hesabu ikuwe rahisi, and 5,000 from a side hustle, inakupea total of 15. Kwa pamoja. And then now I went on to break them down. Here you can see hapa. I want us to do this practically. Tunazoona hapa screen. Kwa pamoja. Haya, so hapa tulikuwa tushaona income. Can you scroll up? Here is where we have the income. You have your fixed income if you're not a business person, or if you're a business person who gives yourself a salary, that's where you have your fixed income. You have other expenses, come up on another source of income. It could be a side hustle, or it could be anything, any other source of income. And then the total in our case inakuja to 15,000. Then when we scroll down, is now where we have the expenses. So like tulikuwa tumesema tunaweza zigawa na percentages, but like I said, it doesn't have to be percentages for everyone. You can decide to do zero base. So here we have the group, you have the type, you have your savings, you have your needs, and you have, so ensure your total is always 100% if you decide to go the route for percentages. Then hapa, it shows you the group total. It tells you kwa ile 10% ya type umeweka, how much type are you giving. In our case, total income ni 15k. Kwa hivyo type inakuja 1500. Si mingi. Alafu next kwa savings inakuhesabia based on your percentages, utasave 6k. Based on your needs hapo inakuja 5k. Alafu hapa inakuja kwa wants ni 2k. Then to scroll down kwanza. Then here is where you come and break down everything. It is not enough to say savings, this amount, needs, this amount. You have to come and break down the particulars. So under type is always type. Hakuna breakdown hapo. Then hapa kwa savings is where you can define. So in this case nimeweka, tulikuwa tumeona savings imefika 6,500. Assuming the income is 15k. It will vary for everyone. So school fees umeweka 2k because unajua umepiga hesabu kama watoto wakifunga August, tunajua school fees ya September ni how much. So ulianza kuisavia May. So unajua uko na May, June, July, August. Kama school fees ni 10k, unaigawa na hizo miezi 4. This is to mean kila mwezi lazima uende uangalie budget. Juu inaweza kuwa ina change kidogo. So school fees tukeka 2k. Na hapa tunaweka school fees kwa savings assuming ulipi once. Next, tuko na investment, something you want to put aside. You have debt, your loan ya branch. Alafu kuna emergency hapo 1,000. In case anything happens, emergency, you could fall sick. If you fall sick, will the whole budget go? So these are things you need to foresee. We are not saying you will fall sick, but something could happen. There could be an emergency, you need to give something. Then we have now the needs. You have the rent. We have rent, we have utilities ni kama maji na stima. So unaona hapo rent, based on this income imeweka rent 3k, utilities 1,000, uko na shopping 1,000. Sijui kama shopping itatosha 1,000, but it is for illustration purposes. Uko na transport tena 1,000, based unaendanga wapi kazi. If you unaendanga kazi kila siku, you're able to calculate fare. Juu unajua asubuhi gari ni 80. Kurudi ile masaa narudingi bado ni 80 ama ni 50. Kama uendangi mapema So unaweza hesabu all the days in a month zenye unaendanga, una multiply, unaweka hapo transport. Pesa ya transport ikipungua hii month kidogo, hiyo pesa sasa unaweza sukuma maybe pale kwa shopping. Then lastly we have the needs, so the wants. You have your hair. You have your hair and nails, you can put it there based on what you usually do with your hair. You have luxury, so you can define them to how you want. Luxury inaweza kuwa outing, unaweza kuja uweke hapo birthday. Kwa sababu kila mwezi ni tofauti, ile mwezi uko na birthday unakuja uweka hapo birthday. Unaweka amount ya birthday. Ile mwezi unanunua nguo, unaweka hapo nguo, unaweka amount. If I can give an example, for me, siwezi tengeneza nywele kila mwezi because nili notice every month haiwezi. So I usually tengeneza nywele katikati ya mwezi so that iende hadi mwisho wa ile mwezi mwingine. Si niko covered. So by the time nafika mwezi mwingine, so I can budget for hair every other month, not every month. So hii mwezi nikiamua ni nywele, ile nyingine ni nguo. Nyingine nywele nguo. Lakini kama yako inatosha nywele every month, go every month, well and good. You can change them up. So you can list all the expenses you have. So if we can move back up. So ukisha list, you must also ensure your total in a total to the income. In the case of this person, unaweza list expenses zifike 20k, na sasa hiyo income ni 15k. Kumaanisha in the middle of the month, there's somewhere things will go wrong. Sindio? So with this tool that I have, situlishaona group total for each group how much is allocated, ikafika 15k. Then hapa sasa tunaona the planned expenses, zile sasa zenye umelist pale zinakuja how much. Unaona zimekuja how much? 16.5. Sikuna makosa mali? Ama hakuna makosa? Tume overspend na 1500. So ukiona hivi you have to go back and check ni wapi hii 1500 inatokea. Ukiangalilia hata hapa type iko sawa, saving iko sawa 65. Hapa ndio kuna makosa hapa kwa needs. Needs zimefika 6000 yet we allocated 5. So what you can do, you can either, if there is nothing you can change in your needs. If you check shopping na uko e-shopping lazima tufanye hivi. Rent of course huwezi punguza maji, huwezi punguza stima. You can decide upunguze savings. Ukuje uchange hii percentage from 20 maybe uweke 10. Sasa unaweza kuweka hapa 10. Tukiweka hapa 10 alafu tuweke hapa 60. So weka 60. Sasa imebadilika, imekuwa 6000. Siko sawa? Lakini sasa si tumepunguza savings. So lazima uende pale kwa savings upunguze irudi 55. So unaweza shuka kwa savings tuone nini tunaweza toa. So ukikuja kwa savings, school fees hatutaki kupunguza school fees. Tushapanga. Hii investment tunaweza decide to invest now instead of 1500. Alafu maybe deni kama lazima ikue unaweza iacha hivyo. Lakini kama unaweza jiongea kwa deni pia unaweza punguza. Maybe emergency pia tuweke 500. Then we go back up and we are still, was it balanced? We are still short 500, but we can see the 500 is here under the ones. So you go to the ones and reduce. We don't have to reduce it now. Since 500, tunaweza toa ile ya nywele. Tuseme this month nitavaa wigi. Tena nishuka matuta, nifunike kichwa. And then that's it. That's how we plan your money. See me balance. And then sasa every day in the month now you need to track. Because you need to be sure ile 5k niliweka ya needs, ile 6k niliweka ya needs haijapita. And so on this other side, if you go to the right, Hapa on the right, go up. This is where you now come and list the everyday expenses as you use them. You can group them into daily, you can group them into weekly. So unakuja specifically unaweka rent,
Ukishaweka hapa rent na uweke pale rent, itajiupdate huko that ushalipa rent. Na itakwambia based na venye umespend pesa, unafaa kuwa umebaki na hii. So kama budget yako hii tu linasema umebakisha 5k na wewe ukiangalia mfuko kuna 3k, unajiuliza hii 2k nilipeleka wapi? Nilipitia wapi? Nilinunua nini sikufaa kununua? So it helps you manage every day if you choose to use it every day. If you don't choose to budget, budgeting will not work for you. So that is where tutafika with the budgeting. Can take any question. You've got here.
Now with the zero-based framework, how will you, if at all you intend to, or you need to be using it, you feel like this is what fits you, and maybe you're not in constant payment of salary.
She's asking are you asking how the zero-based framework can fit on this? So I can tweak it for you. We remove the percentages. So we only leave that you list your expenses and put the exact, and then it will tell you your income is this, you've budgeted this, maybe your overboard or your overboard ama your exact ama umebakisha pesa. When your income is not the same every month, you need to observe what is the minimum I know I can make. Okay? So it can be in a month from business, I know siwezi kosa kuingisha 10k. For instance, siwezi kosa kuingisha this amount. Choose to work with that amount. And specifically, you can choose to have your fixed expenses. Zile zenye lazima ulipe. List them down. So as money comes in, sort the fixed expenses. As more money comes in, see how it will fit into the wants and the savings. But you can always choose to save before you spend on other things. Yeah. So you can say, I know when they are J, lazima I'll get this amount of money. So you can plan for that amount of money, but leave room to adjust. Because in business, we know things are not always the same. So leave room to adjust, but ensure your needs are always covered. And then now you can adjust these other amounts. So this is not a discussion about business, but I hear business owners being told to try and pay yourself a salary. Jaribu kujipea ile fixed amount unachukuanga, alafu ile ingine you can put it aside for business. You know, like my business makes this in a month holistically. I can choose to pay myself a fixed amount so that I'm able to manage my finances better. And then your pesa ingine yote inabaki kwa biashara. If not, also, you can choose to budget every week. You can look at how much you get every week and what you get this week and sort the next week. You can choose to work like that. Another question?
So, for savings, where would you advise tuweke hii pesa? Because you know sometimes kama kuna pesa umeweka kando, it's very easy to be tempted to go back and take your savings and use it for an emergency yenye hauko umepangia or just anything. Unaona ni kama uko na pesa excess. How and where can we put our savings so that we are not, tempted to go and kuichukua tunabaki hatuna kitu? And then first you can answer that.
Okay. So first of all, I usually say you cannot save if you do not have a purpose for saving, because utakula. Si pesa imelala tu mahali haina purpose. So that's why for your section ya savings, you have to break down ni za nini. First of all, ndio ujue sibuli, you have to define exactly what it is for. Secondly, I would like to know if you have money put aside, where have you put your money? Anyone? If you have no matter how small it is, where have you put your money? Before I give my recommendation. If you have money, saving does not mean you've saved hundreds of thousands. It could be that 1,000, it could be that 500. If you put it aside somewhere, where have you put it? Randomly too.
In term, I used to put in the account, but I realized that at some point, probably when I'm kind of very broke and I don't have a proper source of income, then zile ziko kwa account wakati sijapeleka sana inakuwa deducted kwa hizo months zote. And so I realized hiyo ni kama, so I diverted to another
Mshwari. Okay. So kuna mshwari, kuna nyoneka mshwari, kuna nyoneka KCB M-Pesa, kuna bank, chini ya kitanda. Anywhere else? Pastor amesema fixed deposit. Fixed deposit imekaa kwa bank. Yes. Anywhere else?
Piggy bank.
Piggy bank. The teen in the house. Anywhere else? So all this kuna nyonekanga sako. Kuna wenye hawaikangi wana choose kutoa chama. Ni peanake kwa chama, after 6 months round table ikinifikia, inakuja ikia mingi. So there is no wrong place to put your money except under the mattress. You don't put the money under the mattress. It could disappear. Plus when you find a need, it's very easy to remove. So I would say number 1, know what your goal for saving is. Then choose a place to put your money penye inaweza zaa. Si mali ukiweka 500 utatoa 500. Siku hizi things are so advanced, ukitoa 500 at the very least unaweza toa 550. Sio 50 kwa bitasaidia. So there are also people can choose to put in the bank. But like Chakarina said, I think ukiwa na deni ya bank wanaweza enda wakate huko. Is that what you meant? Yes, the bank wanaweza kata hapo. Also when you put your money in the bank, it just sits. Ile yenye uliweka ndio utapata. But before I give my preferred avenues, you must know what an emergency is for you. What I usually say, someone's lack of planning should not be an emergency for you. We are called to be generous, I know. But if you can assess where hii emergency yako ni juu kujipanga vizuri, it does not warrant me to go and remove the 5,000 I've been trying to save for savings and give you. So you need to also define which situations are an emergency for you, really. Because unapata pia unaweza amua kili nakaa vibaya, I think hii nywele ni emergency. Unaenda unaguza savings. So you need to define exactly what is an emergency for you so that you have no reason to touch your money except for its intended purpose. So another thing, you also need to put your money where it is not easily accessible instantly. Sisemi huwezi toa kabisa, but ukihitaji within 24 to 48 hours umeipata. Like najua ukilock pesa yako na mshwari, ukitaka yezi toka hiyo siku, right? That should be what you do. But ikia kwa piggy bank, ikia hapo chini ya mattress, ikia kwa bank, ikia tu kwa mshwari na si locked, when you need that money or when you think you need that money, you will remove that money. So where do I propose that put your money where it will earn you something, so that kenye umeweka usitoe. Kuna vitu zinaitangwa money market fund. Yuka mtu ashaisikia hiyo? Anyone? Sali amesikia? Let me just So I will share this so that tunaweza soma what I had written on savings, but I will summarize it. So there are instruments or places, or we can call them platforms, that are known as money market funds. So these are places you can put your money and you can earn interest of up to around 10%, 10 to 15%. So this money is held by organizations when you are accredited by a body by the government in Itango Capital Markets Authority. So to break it down, a money market is a pool investment that collects cash from many savers and place it in a very short-term, low-risk investment. If I may break this down, tunajua kama kuna issue ya kununua shares, sio? Lakini shares zinakonga kitu. Tuseme kuna share ya 40 bob. Share ya 40 bob na minimum ya kununua shares inakonga 100 shares. So kama ni 40 bob unafaa ununue ngapi? 4,000. Ama wewe unataka kununua kampuni kubwa yenye share yao ni 100. So kama you must buy 100 shares, that's 10,000. Another way people usually make money is, for instance, investing in government bonds, kulonia serikali pesa. Lakini serikali haichukuangi chini ya 50k. Nasemanga mimi naanzia 50k kwenda juu. So you find there are people who sat down and thought about sisi wananchi wenye at one time sina 50k ya kupeana ati irudi ikia maybe 60k. Sina 4,000 ya kununua shares mingi. What do I do? So there are some organizations that take money from, small money from everyone. If we give them all here 500, they take another money from others, inafika 50k, alafu hao wanaenda wanapea serikali hiyo 50k. Ikirudi ikia 60, wanakuja wanagawia kila mtu kulingana na vile ulitoa. So that is what we call a money market fund. Or kwa jina ingine unaweza sikia zikiitwa a unit trust. And what they do, huwa wanaweka pesa in assets that are not high risk. Kumaanisha hautapoteza pesa yako. The risk is almost close to zero. Hatuwezi sema hakunanga risk, but it is almost close to zero. And it's a place you can put as little as you have. Ukiwa na 20 bob leo, unarusha huko. Ukiwa na 100, unarusha. Ukiwa na 500, unarusha. At the end of every month, they add for you something. Of course, if you have a little, they can't give you a lot, but it grows with time. But kama ulikuwa umeweka 50, umeweka 500, at the end of the month ikuwe 550, hiyo 50 pia ni yako. So come the other month, you'll also earn interest on that 50 bob. Inaongezeka. The same way mshwari, ukilock pesa na mshwari, inaongezekanga, sio? Yes. So it is the same way with these other places. For instance, I can give, so the features is that the money increases, it compounds. For, tuseme kama 10%. Ukiweka 1,000 for the whole year, 10% ya 1,000 ni 100. So ukiweka 1,000 January, na usiiguze, and in December itakuwa 1,100. If you had put it kwa chini yako ama chini ya kitanda, so ungetoa ikia 1,000. And the good thing with putting money where it can increase in value ni kwa sababu pia economy ina shiftingi. Kenya 1,000 ingenunua January, sahi haiwezi. January unapata maybe maji mlikuwa mnalipishwa mita 200, 150. By the end of the year, landlord ameongeza. So you also need your money to be ahead such that it increases in value even as the economy increases in value. Because 1,000 yako ikibaki 1,000 at the end of the year, na sasa kitu ya 1,000 huwezi nunua na hiyo 1,000. Si umeachwa nyuma. So I advise that you put your money in these platforms called money market fund. They are low risk. There are other higher risk avenues for people who have more appetite. You know, wacha nione ikipotea ni sawa, what ikiongezeka inaongezeka vizuri. So you will get your interest. The good thing there is high liquidity. Ukitoa pesa, kuna zenye ukupea instantly ama within an hour or two. Kuna zenye ukupea within 24 hours, kuna zenye ukupea within 48. But the good thing pia, hakuna mtu anaweza kuja. Si uko na 10k yako pale umefungia. Mimi nikikuja nikwambia niko na emergency. Huwezi nisaidia sahi. Labda ningoje 48 hours. If I was not genuine, nimejishort, singoje. So it even helps you to even think twice. Before you throw your pesa ya nywele, before 48 hours ziishe, you get to think of another way to get money. So, and then they have low entry points from as low as 500, but I know others that are from as low as 5 shillings. And then they are managed by professionals and they are regulated by the government, so you're sure that your money is safe. However, usirukililie yenye mtu anakuambia bila kufanya research. There are so many. Mtu anaweza kuja kudanganya kuna MMF mpya, juu sahi kila mtu anaiongelea. So just also be keen. Where can you get the information about these things? Ukigoogle, you will find them. Ukienda pia kwa gazeti, najua kama gazeti ya Business Daily, ukipatana nayo ile page za huko mwisho za news zenye watu wapendi kusoma, zinakuanga hapo listed. So mtu akikuja akianza kukuambia sijui gani hiyo money market tunaweza weka pesa, uende hapo kwa gazeti huipati. That is the first red flag. Unajua hapa naweza kuwa na koniwa. But I can suggest a few. Kuna yenye najua this is a mobile app, you can have it on your phone. Inaitwa Chums. Chums. CHUMZ. Chums. Uzuri wa Chums pia inakukumbushanga kuweka pesa. Ikiona umetransact message ya M-Pesa imeingia, inakuambianga, do you think you want to save today? Do you think you want to save for a cup of tea today? The amount of a cup of tea? That's a good thing with Chums. It will always remind you. Na Chums pesa itokangi hiyo siku, inatokanga the next day. That's one. Another one I know is called Kuza. Kuza, K-U-Z-A. K-U-Z-A. Kuza, it has a higher interest than Chums. Higher than Chums. But you can only start with 1,000 shillings. It also has an app, pia hiyo unaweza angalia. And then there are so many others. Okay, there are so many. I can share a list. Even with the big insurance companies that you know, the CIC, the Britam, the Jubilee Insurance, the Old Mutual. Even now, I think there are banks that are trying to bring in the money market, because money market is giving you more interest than the bank would. So more people are going there. So it is very good. Do not just let your 500 sit in your M-Pesa or in your bank. Put it somewhere, it will gain interest. And then ukigrow pole pole, it's also good. I want to give an example with Chums. Kama hata mko na chama kama Chums, ama tumejipanga kama ladies tunataka kuenda Mombasa December, na hatuweki for instance pesa kwa church. Ni chama yetu hapa ya Mindmeet. Na mnataka kupatia tinani pesa. Hatuwekee 20,000 the whole year, na si atakula. So for instance kama Chums, iko na hiyo mnaweza tengeneza group kwa Chums. So kila mtu wako kwa group atakumbushangu aabishe pesa yake every month. Na hiyo pesa hamwezi toa mpaka kila mtu aende kwa app yake aeke tick. Aeke tick then hiyo mtu mmoja atumiwe pesa. So it also improves security even when you work as a group, for instance. So that's it for savings. Swali ingine?
I have a question. Going back to the saving, the three kind of saving, the needs and the saving and the ones, yeah. I was asking of the insurance of the hospital, whatever, and the SHA. Where is that one? Is it the ones saving needs?
It would be under needs because you need to pay SHA, and it's a fixed amount every month. So specifically SHA, if you're a business owner, you're in the informal sector, you need to pay for yourself. So you need to put it hapo kwa needs. Kwa needs. Kwa needs. Mtu ameandikwa kazi inakatango before ulipwe. But kama unajilipa and you choose to pay it, the government says it's mandatory. But I choose to say, if you choose to pay it, you put it under needs. So you might need to increase your percentage from 50 to maybe 60 to cover. Do you have another question?
You know why I'm asking this because as we go to the saving, we know like most of us are being affected. Those that we are in the HIF, we lost a lot because we have maybe saved for a whole year, and when it was changed to the other, it's like right now it's not even operating. So I was asking because of, is it better of the SHA, whether it is mandatory or the insurance?
So the government says it's mandatory. And I also hear that it is not working. I have heard from people who have paid, wameenda hospitali na haiwalipi. And you know, NHIF was not a saving. It doesn't matter how much you had put in NHIF. You may have put 6,000 for 1 year, but if your bill was 500,000, they would pay. So you can't look at it as a saving. It's a mandatory contribution so they can cover your hospital bill. However, it comes back down to a personal level. If you don't want to pay SHA, I don't know what systems the government has in place to catch up with us when we don't pay SHA. However, if you choose to pay personal insurance for yourself, hapo utaiweka tu hapo kwa needs. Unaweza iweka kwa savings kama una save towards it. Unajua insurance unalipanga mara moja kwa mwaka. So kama unajua at the end of the year I have to pay, say for instance 100,000, assuming it's for the whole family. So you know you need to save 10,000 every month. So you can put it under savings. Then at the end of the year, you pay the insurance. However, in the case of health insurance, even if you have private health insurance, in case of anything, the part that SHA was supposed to pay will be required to pay out of pocket. Because ukienda, for instance, ukilazwa siku za NHIF, sa NHIF ilikuwa inalipa kitanda. So pia saa hii SHA inafaa kulipa kitanda. Kwa hivyo usipojilipia SHA, ukilazwa utajilipia kitanda kutoka kwa mfuko yako. Kwa sababu daktari wanakuambia kitanda SHA inafaa kulipa. Hata si daktari, the insurance company knows that they come in after SHA has been exhausted. Yes. So you need to look at, there's the risk of paying for SHA and it doesn't work. And there's also the risk of what portion of money would SHA have paid that in case I am asked for. So it is a risky situation. It is a tricky. But if you, whichever, unaiweka kwa needs. Yes?
Actually, if I can mention something about SHA.
About SHA, for now, if you go to the hospital, then maybe you have someone who needs treatment or medical attention or admission. First of all, you are sent to the counter of SHA. Have you already registered? So kama uja register, then you'll have to do it right away before kila kitu ianze. So kama una hiyo pesa utakuwa umekwama. That is in public hospitals.
On the same point, I would urge everyone to continue pursuing SHA because we have remained where it is not working, but it is working. I think there is one of us here who can help us understand how it worked for her recently so that we can all get encouraged to go to pursue it. Sala, you can help us tusaidie tujue ulifanya nini.
Na wasalimu. SHA inafanya kwa sababu hivi karibuni ilikuwa na kebo, alikuwa anafanywa surgery. Nilikuwa ninaitishwa almost 35,000 na walini cost 5,000 peke yake na ilikuwa private. Hata haikuwa public, haikuwa hizi hospitali zangu, ilikuwa private inafanya.
So it is just the registration. I know the amount is different for everyone. So just go and register with unafaa kulipa how much and decide if you want it in your budget or not.
Allow me to add something again.
Wakati una register, kuna maswali unaulizwa pale na ni computer inakuuliza. So, in case utaenda kuregister, usijieke kama uko na radio, uko na TV. Jieke kama assume uko ushago. Assume uko ushago. So, ukiwa ushago, jieke kwa nyumba ya shosho pale. Au na radio, uko na kabambe. And so, ukiselect vitu kama hizo, then utalipishwa pesa ya chini. Asante.
Thank you for that. Any other question? So as we conclude, there are some non-negotiables. Vitu haziwezi negotiate kuhusu pesa. Number 1, I put there tithing. Let us. Number 2 is to pay yourself first. In everything you do, you pay yourself first by putting aside some money, even if it's that 500. Not that you pay yourself ukakule, no. You pay yourself save. So ensure you always put something aside. I read somewhere this morning that even if you put aside 50 bob kila siku, by the end of the year itakuwa 18,000. So 50 bob kila siku ni 1,500 per month. Ukiongeza interest, assuming interest ya 10%, by the end of the year utakuwa na 18,000. If you are a one person like this, you umeenda Mombasa. Kauko mmoja. And 50 bob per day. If you're in business, you can put aside 50 bob per day. Because also we are saying the income is variable. But the thing is, pay yourself first. Number 3, do not spend money you don't have. Do not say, najua nalipwa next week, ama kuna deal itaingiana next week, so wacha nitumie hizi, si pesa itarudi, na ikikosa kukuja. So don't spend what you don't have. Then number 4, review and realign your budget monthly. What worked last month might not work this month. Like we've said, this month you might have a new bill. This month, like I said, I personally do my hair imwezi, ingine nanunua nguo. So, review and realign every month. Kama inafanana kila mwezi ni sawa. But unajua unaweza angalia venye uli spend last month, uone na need to change kidogo, maybe to improve on something or to change something. And then always adjust for one-off costs. One-off costs, like I've said, become a school fees, holiday, things you need to be one-off, unalipianga one-off. So you can either plan for them early where possible or allocate for them every month. For instance, this month, when we spoke in June about the ladies seminar, na ukacommit 1,000 pledge. Ukifanya budget ya July, inabidi umeenda uone hii 1,000 haikuangi kila mwezi, si ndio? Nitaiweka wapi? And then save 80% of free money. When I say free money, unaweza kuja ukutane na rafiki yako, kwambie tumekaviana, shika kunywa chai. Usiende ukunywe chai. Save it. Save part of it. Save part of it, and then you don't, unaweza kunywa chai lakini usikunywe yote chai. Save part of it because you don't know about tomorrow. The goal is to ensure you put aside as much as possible. The number 7 is do not confuse wants with needs. Do not think something you need it, but kumbe it is a want. So be very clear. You could think you need to do your hair, but you might just, it's a want. So you need to be specific with your needs, so that they do not fall in the wrong place. And then the last part, as I wrap up, is to say that you do not worry. Do not worry about tomorrow. Matthew 6. Sinatuambianga. God has clothed even, the grass, the birds of the air, and anazichunganga. So that is one thing about money. Na ninataka kumaliza nayo, because unaweza chizi ukifikiria pesa. So don't worry. Kama haiko, just sit haiko. Kama haiko, you need to just sit down, review your budget, see where you unaweza kaza mshipi, and also with clarity, look for opportunities to make more. And also you seek wisdom. Tunaambiango kuja church Friday, pastor is even here to give you financial guidance. She might not be able to give you money, but she will guide you and tell you, this is what is going wrong, this is where you need to seek clarity. Do not worry, because God is watching over us. Single. I hope you've learned something new. Any other questions?
Praise God.
There's a case where one of us told us when we were starting that at times anapata ama sisi tunapata, lakini najiachilia kusema after all yule alikuwa nayo lakini alienda nayo kwa mchana. So in that case, what advice would you give us?
Are you sure you won't be here tomorrow? That would be my advice. It's a two-way street. You could be here or not. So, if you're not here, well and good. That is why we have an allocation for once. Atusi ati tunajinyima, si ndio? Si unakula. unajipea the good things you give them to yourself, but in moderation. So if you're not here tomorrow, you will have lived. There's a reason we are saving for that Mombasa. But it's not to say in December, in case you're not here by December, it's not to say you've lived miserably the whole year. But then, worst case scenario, what if you're here tomorrow and you have nothing? So you'll have to start again. Yeah.
I was concerned of our nature as Africans. We know we have this, we are notorious in socialism. And I was wondering, how do we deal with this aspect of indulging ourselves in generosity? Like now there are those who can just, my relatives can just decide to bump into my house, because what we have learned today, it's a fixed way of life. Is there flexibility? How do I deal with such eventualities where I'm not in control? Maybe you can help us.
I would say you need to go back to your goals again. Well, the part for the ones, it leaves room for us to be flexible. If you have enough. If someone appears and you need to give them tea, you need to house them, maybe this is not the month to do your hair or to buy a new clothes. There's room for flexibility. However, I also recognize that times have changed and the generations have also changed. Where I stand, we are not the generation to give relatives money. So you'd find sometimes people will borrow and won't give. People don't even know where you stay, they won't come. But leave room for flexibility. But know your non-negotiables. Like I've said, hii pesa siwezi kuza. No matter whatever happens, you can be flexible. You can go back and adjust your budget. If something happens in the middle of the month, go and look at your savings. Do you want to risk removing something so that you can allocate it to something else? You know you will use a school fees, but maybe this month I can toa ile pesa nimeweka ya emergency niitumie, but remember next month try to make room for it, try to reduce. If you're not using the zero-based framework, you can always have some surplus. And in your life, if you see this happens or you have the need for flexibility, you can have a column, a row that leaves room for that. You can have unexpected expenses, or what we call, watu wengine wanaitanga miscellaneous. Unaweza ita others. So based on your income capacity, others yako inaweza kuwa 1,000, others yako inaweza kuwa 5,000, inaweza kuwa 10. But jua mwezi hii others, mwezi ikiisha na hakukuwa na other things that happen, save that money. So you can have that flexibility if your budget is not very tight. But if your budget is tight, na unajua nikisongesha kitu hapa, mambo inasambaratika, it is okay to be open with people. Mwambie, maybe this is not the best time for me to be doing this. Can I support you next month? Can I support you in a week's time? Because when eventually, we know we are not supposed to worry, and if you have the faith that you will get tomorrow, fine, help. But if you don't, see how you will be able to adjust things or explain it to the person whom you need to help. Does that answer? So just have room for your others, because sometimes unaweza kosa kufit kila kitu kwa your others. So just know what to put up.
But to build on what you have said, our generosity is based, of course, on our income, just like the way you have said. If my budget is based on 5,000, of course, even as you come to me, I am supposed to reciprocate the way I am. If I give you a cup of tea, that is what I can afford. If I give you a glass of water, that is what. My point is, don't only live for yourself. Have that room for generosity accordingly, just the way you are.
I think I also wanted to add kwa hiyo point ya pastor. Over and above your generosity, we know that there are some of us who maybe ni lazima kitu itumwe back at home. Lazima nitumie mom kitu every month, kuna shopping lazima nini. Lazima maybe someone is taking care of her, I need to budget for kulipa huyo mtu mwenye anamwangalia and all that. In English terms tunaitanga black tax because normally it happens mostly with Africans. Sometimes ukiwa huku town you're still taking care of watu wengine ushago. So maybe in my opinion, and Stacy unaweza to guide kwa hiyo budget yako ya, because to me that sounds like a need. So uki budget your rent yako ya huku pia, because it's almost lazima utatuma kitu nyumbani, unaiweka pia kwa hiyo budget yako ya need. I don't think it's a want. Depending on whether ni lazima itumwe ama unatuma out of the goodness of your heart, but kama ni lazima you have to budget it kwa your needs.
Yeah, I agree. Unaweza iweka kwa needs, especially if it's a fixed amount. If you know every month I send home this amount, ama ninalipanga mtu mwenye anasaidiana home this amount, ni fixed, haibadiliki, unaweza iweka kwa needs. Also, if unatumanga by kupenda, ukwangi umeambiwa lazima, si lazima utumia fixed amount. Unaweza decide to fix it. Isikuangi variable. So kama hawakuangi ati wamedemand, you can decide, if you fix it, you can put it kwa needs. But if it is not fixed and it can change based on your situation every month, you can put it kwa wants. Because it is something you want to do. So it comes down to your personal, to you as a person. Do you, if it is for you to decide kama unataka kuiweka kwa needs ama kwa wants. And you can always vary it every month if it's possible. Swali lingine? Yes, ma'am.
Swali langu ni hili. Unapata labda my expenditure is higher than my income. Now what do I do?
You need to go and look at that expenditure. No, you should not be spending more than you're earning. So you need to go and sit with your expenses and see which one you can reduce. Kama kuna zenye unaweza expand, tuseme kama ni chakula. Angalia hii chakula mbona ninaekea the amount I have put. Jaribu ku break down huwa ninanunua nini every month. You'd be so surprised, kuna kitu maybe unaweza punguza or unaweza badilisha the brand. So unajua pia kila brand iko na bei yake. So for mali naonanga sana unaweza break down the food expenditure. If it is rent and it is the one which is above the income, for instance, or it is pushing the budget a lot, huwezi hama leo. But make a plan to reduce that rent. As a rule, kuna watu wanasemanga your rent should not be like more than 30% of your income. Rent ikipita 30% of your income, kidogo unaweza struggle. So break down. Ona ni wapi unaweza punguza. Kama ni nywele, maybe hapa unashukango na 1000, I might need to check ile salon ya mama mwingine nione kama inaweza kuwa 800. But also the other side would be to now sit and think of how you can increase your income. If at all huku hakuwezi slashika kabisa, you can sit and look at your business. How can I scale my business? How can I serve more people? How can I get more clients? Your income iongezeke. But it's a process. But where the income is more than, where the expenses are more than the income, you need to immediately think about how to reduce it.
Thank you.
You can ask us, make it.
Maybe another point that I have found eating us is failure to understand the times that we are in. I have found people who lives a fixed life. You used once to work, used to have a good income, and somehow on the way you lost a job or even your business, you lost the income that you used to. Life is dynamic, but at times when we lose what we used to have, we keep on fighting to meet the standards of life that we were used to. It is okay for you to embrace what the current situation. This one calls for, we can change, we can vacate, we can move from where we live. Maybe we look for a cheaper house. We can change our children where we take them to school. Maybe we take them to public schools. We are even called to change even the diet that we used to. There are so many areas that you need to go and embrace it and stop fighting. That is one way that makes us live, we live beyond our means. So stop fighting, stop comparing yourself with the others. Understand that now things have to be adjusted so that you can live according to your current means. Yes, that's okay.
Thank you. Would it then be advisable that maybe when you get money and you need to plan for your budget, that is shopping and rent, can that be done in advance? Like you pay, you do the 3 months shopping in advance, 3 months rent in advance, and maybe the rest of the bills, so that when you get the next money, then hapo tu sasa save na kufanya mambo zingine.
You can choose to do that, especially if your income is variable. Or kama unatakanga to buy things in bulk. Of course, when you buy things in bulk, there's a time the bill will be bigger, but then all through the other months it will be lower. So it's also, you can do that as well, but that means you'll have to adjust your budget every month so that it fits when you're paying things in larger quantities. But I find that works very well for people in business. If the business is so good this month and there's a lot, why not pay the 3 months of rent? And then the next 3 months we plan for the next 3 months. That also works. Kuna swali ingine? Okay, and to support what Pastor has said, when life changes, so as you're saving, try to save for something we call an emergency fund. An emergency fund is if you lost your income today, how would you live tomorrow? So angalia your fixed expenses, hizo zenye huwezi change, hizo needs, rent, nini, and multiply them by 3. If your needs zilikuwa zimefika 5,000, multiplied by 3 ni 15K. So try to save up 15,000 and lock it. 15,000 yenye huwezi guza come rain, come sunshine. So that in case you were to lose your main source of income, you know you have 3 months of fixed expenses sorted as you also plan to adjust your life. Because be adjusting haikuangi immediate. But when you have 3 months covered, it gives you time to either look for something else to do or to change the situation, to change and adjust where you stay, the kids' school. So do 3 times of your needs and try to save towards that. Pole pole. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Najua time imeenda sana, eat into lunch time.
Have you learned something?
Yes.
No, we are not going to give our facilitator such kind of applause. We are going to give him her hizo za kilo. I wonder whether we'll get an opportunity maybe after lunch tujue tumesoma nini facilitator, because it's very important tusikie kama tu ni kuambiwa what ni nini tutapeleka nyumbani, ni nini tutaenda kuchange, sio? But maybe that can happen after lunch. So let us all stand up. I think we appreciate Stacey, one of our own, for what God is doing in this place, for the knowledge that we have just had. So I think Ms. Kanin, you are very good at leading us into appreciating others. Kindly help me.
So kindly let's warm our hands. Warm our hands because you are ready to shower her with God's blessings. And that in this way, we are going to do in this way. You clap your hands 3 times. You stamp your feet 3 times. Then you shout, we thank God for you. Okay? 3, go. We do 3 each 3 times. Okay? Let's go. Stamping your feet. Then you say, we thank God for you. Again, we thank God for you. Abarikiwe, abarikiwe, abarikiwe sana. Mwambie, twambie Yesu anakupenda.
What happens in cases where you budget for the debts, where people owe you money and they end up not paying or not paying as planned? There's a point I had said do not plan for money you don't have. You plan for money you're sure it will come. Like, you know, at the end of the month, I will have this amount of money, or my business will bring this. Siwezi sema ile 1,000 Sally alisema ananilipa this month, chani iweke kwa budget. I can't say that because you know humans. Like, because si hata wewe hujalipa ile ya branch na unangoja mtu akulipe yenye. So don't plan for it, but should they pay you back in the course of the month, you can either adjust your budget, fit it somewhere, or better still, save it. Sini pesa huko umepangia? Na tulisema 80% of the money you hadn't planned for una save. So akikulipa deni, if you can't carry it forward, hiyo pesa ka uwezi tuma kwa budget ya the next month, hii mwezi save it. But also in that case, when you're lending people, unless it's people you trust, you should always give an amount that you're willing to lose. I don't know if I'm wrong to say that. You should always think, if I give you this money na usirudishe, will it affect me to what capacity? If you trust them 100% na unajua, of course itarudi. Ama it is my sister, I will always be on your case. But you need to give an amount that you will not mind if it doesn't come back, especially within the, akikwambia atakurudishia in 2 weeks, jipatie 1 month, just to cover yourself. Swali lingine? That never lend your family members money, give them. Once you decide to give and you forget, because they rarely pay. Instead of you agonizing, fanya mazuri na uende. Thank you for that, Pastor. Kuna mtu ako na comment, maybe si swali, ama ungependa kushare kitu wewe unajua. I'm sure we all also know something about money.
as we wind up? Hakuna? Ni sawa. So we will finish there. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time when we will be here again to learn something new. So nita hand over to Pastor to take us through our next discussion. Is it quality time to you?
Yes.
It is to me. There is something I am feeling compelled to say, maybe an advice to those who do business, because I know most of us here learn small businesses. And sometimes we tend to think that when we give people our items, sometimes we get excited and we dispatch our items or whatever, or even sometimes our services, just because we have maybe a lot of stock, thinking that giving them, they will, that is the same way they are going to pay. Keep your stock until somebody comes voluntarily to pick your item. Okay? Yes, by that time you have the moral authority to ask. That is just a good advice, because I have seen it eating ourselves, killing relationship, just because we did something out of jijazie. So, I've been called to learn emotion. I've not come to teach. I want to trigger a topic that is going to raise emotions, because it's going to touch me as a parent, to touch you as a young person. But I think it is very important for us. The topic that I have today is based on the usage of contraceptives. Do you know what are contraceptives? Tunajua contraceptives ni nini? Yes. Ni nini? Helen amesema hajui, hebu mpigie makofi. Ninapendanga wakati mtu tunasema ni nini contraceptives na Kiswahili? Lakini unajua ni venye ninaziita na Kizungu ni mpango ya uzazi. Ni njia mingi tunatumia za kuzuia kupata mimba. Mrs. Deuri yako wapi na ni yeye utengeneza Kiswahili yetu Maidnit. Tumezishika. Kuna okay, family planning methods. How many do you know? Najua saa hizi tunasikia hii ni gani pastor amelete. Mimi naletanga hiyo yenye inakuguza. Sileti yenye ni ya ule ako pale kwa. So we know how many of them can we identify? With their pills. There is a coil. Coil ndio tunaitanga IUD something. Yes? Implants. Kuna ingine ndio inaweka kwa mkono. Nataka uniambie hiyo yenye uko nayo. Ni gani? Yeah? Apana, it is not bad to have it. I have not come to demonize it. Nimeleta tuangalie, nataka tuangalie kama Wakristo. Kanisa inasema nini na dunia inasema nini? Si ndio? Hiyo ndio ninataka. Tujue kama tunafaa tufanye aje tukiwa Wakristo
Biblia inasemaje? Ni nini inafanyika kwa maisha yetu? Mambo kwa ground ni tofauti. Umeshika ni nini ninasema? Sawa sawa. Ndio umekataa kuniambia hiyo. Mimi nitakwambia yangu. Yangu ni ile ya kupita menopause. Sio ni freestyle. Yo ukipita you have no one in the world. See, still away. But of course I've come a long way. So, my issue today yenye ninataka tuangalie. Nataka wazazi wenye wako hapa na wako na watoto. Si ndio? Na watu wa young wenye wako hapa. Nataka tuangalie, tutaangalia advantages na disadvantages. Tutaangalia church nayo inatuambia aje, na tuangalie mambo kwa ground nayo iko wapi. Ili tujue kama tunatukuza Mungu na ile mambo tunafanya ama hatutukuzi Mungu. Ni hiyo tu ninataka tuangalie. So, I want to start with with parents. How do they feel? Or how do they think? How justifiable is it for our children, and I'm talking the children that we are bringing up who are under our care, when we lead them to the usage of contraceptives. And then later we are going to give now the Gen Z to let us know how they feel about it. Tumeshika? Yes. So, who is a parent and would love to let us understand how they feel. Watu hakuna zinafanya. Moses, uko hapo. Okay, if you are a parent, raise up your hands. All of us, we are going to speak. So nitaanza kwa hiyo table, nikuje hiyo, alafu hii ingine. So passage, this is the only, we'd love to start. How do you feel about it?
To me, as a mother, one, it's not a good thing to give it to your daughters or your daughters, or introduce it to your daughters, because one thing is like you are setting them now to the world that they can do anything because you have shown them how to protect themselves, and because when you show them, they say that you have given them a leeway, they can do it the way they want. So instead, let them understand who they are and understand their body is a temple. When you go to the Christianity side, let them understand whatever they are doing, there is a right time when they are supposed to do it. So they should not learn for it, they should wait.
Okay. May I have another minute? I want somebody else to respond to that. How practical is that? How practical is it for my parent to tell me that it is long to use contraceptive and I should wait until the right time? This time I want to hear from a young person. Any topic that we shy of to speak. That is what the Spirit wants to be spoken about and to be addressed. Because that is the sin. That is the underlying. I'm not declaring, because we will also see what the church says. But why can't we speak it audibly? I'm challenging you and I'm triggering those emotions so that you speak.
Okay, to respond to what Mrs. Sauri has said. Okay, personally, I believe in knowledge and having knowledge, kujua what is out there. So if it's our young daughters, it's important to educate them, give them all the knowledge, because hauko na yeye every single second of her life. So number one, of course, you have to lay the foundation, and the foundation, of course, is a Christian foundation. That, of course, sex before marriage is not as per our Christian values. These are the risks outside of the Christian setting. Here, there's also risks that come with premarital sex. But the thing is, if they choose for themselves, because the thing is, especially if they are of an age of 18 and above, and as I've said, hautakuwa na yeye every single second of their life. There are ways that they can protect themselves. So give them the information, guide them, but at the end of the day, the decision has to be theirs. But at least, as they're making your decision, they have enough information to equip themselves to either prevent themselves from getting diseases, from getting pregnant and all that. But of course, as a parent, you've done your part. You've laid the foundation, the Christian foundation. The rest is for them to make the decision. That's my stance on the matter.
Thank you so much. Sally is for we ground our children in knowledge. Then after 18 years, it is for them to decide. How practical is that? That is very theoretical. Is it the society that we are in today? Because now the problem is at hand. The problem of premarital sex is there because we know the usage of contraceptive is at large. Stacy.
I'm not sure how practical it is to give them all the information, although I agree. I would like to think if I am a parent, I would try to do that. But then I see the times we are in. First of all, growing up, our parents did not even talk to us about sex. Kama hatukusomea shule, ulijulia huku nje maybe when someone was hitting on you. So you find sometimes the conversation, the parent will bring it up because they know something has happened. So it is after in fact, the conversation of you should not be doing this in the first place was not there. That you should not be having sex you should not be having sex rather. That conversation, you find it has not been there. So you are out here in the world, you're smart, the world imekuchanua, and it happens. So now when your parent finds out it has happened, that is when you find the parent is now inclined to tell you, you need to protect yourself. So I think it may work if the knowledge is given prior and the decision is there for you, but there needs to be a lot of emphasis on abstinence.
Stacey's underlying point, after all is said and done, it's abstinence. Abstinence means to do away with premarital sex. Tunasema we shield. So, as Christians, we know our girls, they are using these contraceptives. How do you feel as a girl? You are not married, you are under contraceptive. You as a parent, you as a Christian parent, this is the time to express yourself. Tell us how you feel about it. Are we still walking in holiness? Are we still walking the talk? I want to hear what Princess will say.
Sema.
Praise God. I cannot say this because
She has said, I'm back to you. She has said that she has nothing to, hana kitu ya kusema, maana hatumiangi. But, because kuna wasichana wako nyuma yako, na wengine wadogo wanazitumia, unaweza waelezea nini? Kwa nini hutumiangi na wewe bado ni msichana mdogo? I'm not talking out of the blues. Nimeona, when I'm doing my counseling, when young people give their life to Christ, kitu moja nimeona, Pastor, one thing I'm going to do so that Mungu aone my sincerity, nitaenda nitoe hii method yenye iko, family planning method yenye iko kwa, so that nikae kulingana na Mungu, venye Mungu anataka, na nijizuie kufanya hii premarital sex. So, where ufanyi? Can you maybe shed some light to those who are here and those who are maybe younger than you, or even those who are who are youth like you, and they have indulged themselves in such? If I don't do anything that people of my age are not doing, I must have a reason. I must be grounded, and therefore I'm in a position to give guidance. I'm in a position to say why I do not do it. So hiyo ndio tunakuuliza tusaidie. Kwa nini na sisi ni walika lako na wewe ufanye venye tunafanya na tuko nazo kwa mili zetu?
Kwa sababu najua most people wenye wanatumia ni wenye wako married, sio wale wenye kama yuko married haifai utumie.
Thank you. So she is grounded on the truth that the practices are only confined in the marriage unit. I want someone to speak what is on the ground and to say, I don't know whether I am driving my motion well because, or we are being hypocritical, we do not want to speak. Najua kuna ile mambo tunataka kuongea na kuna ingine hatutaki. Ni sisi wenyewe tumepeleka watoto wetu na statistics hivyo ndivyo zina show. Can somebody tell us why it has become a norm that our young girls are under contraceptives?
Okay, Bwana asifiwe. Kwangu yenye naweza sema kwa tuseme our young sisters or watoto wetu, our daughters, ni kitu moja yenye mzazi ajui mwenye anapeleka mtoto wake akaweke hizo vitu ama akaanze kuplan mambo ya family planning mapema. Kitu ya kwanza kama wazazi, sijui kama ni hamtaki kulea wajukuu. Kitu ya pili, huyu mtoto hana mbele wala nyuma, ataogopa kuleta mtoto kwa mama yake. Kitu ya pili, ninaweza ambia huyu msichana mwenye anafanya hivyo kama angali ako mdogo, si family planning si ati peke yake umeenda umezuia kupata hiyo mimba, si ndio? but kuna vitu mingi sana zenye utazuia kupata ndani ya mwili yako. Kuna magonjwa utakuta umepata through hiyo venye umejiingiza kwa hiyo sex or whatever. Juu labda ukutani hata na mtu si walika yako, kuna wengine wako na mama babas, kuna wengine wako na vijana, kuna wengine yani wako na watu different. So sioni ati family planning ndio peke yake yenye itakuzuia ukue ati uko msichana kwa muonekano wako, lakini ambapo umejaribu kwa njia mingi. I think mimi ndio naweza sema.
Thank you so much. Now we are opening up. Kwanza kuna kitu nimesikia akisema ameziita vizuri family planning. When our daughters are taking family planning method, family planning ni kupaka familia. Ni familia gani hizi wanapaganga? Wanazipagianga huko ndani ya mwili kabla ya zionekane. So the methods are made to be confined under ni za kupanga familia. So hata tusiongee mambo yetu, acha tuongelee wale juu sisi ni watu wa church na tufanyaki hiyo maneno. Si ndio? Wacha tujiuliza kwa nini wanafanya hivyo. Hao wazazi wenye wanafanya hivyo huko nje. Na hao wasichana wenye wako nazo huko, masista zetu wenye wamejificha. Hebu tujiulize wenye wanafanya kama inafaa.
Anaweza sifiwe, asifiwe tena. Hata kama hatufanyi, tunaona marafiki zetu wanafanya, ama wengine wadogo wetu.
Yes.
Na hawezi kosa kitu ya kumwambia kama wewe ni mkubwa wake. Kitu ya kwanza, ukifanya hizo family planning, unaweza kumadvise, unazoea vibaya. Ukiweka, unajiambia, nimeshaweka, una consequence inakuja nyuma yangu, na unazoea kwa hiyo dhambi mpaka juu unajua hakuna kitu mbaya inakuletea. Kitu kingine mimi naona unaweza kumadvise, si mzuri kwa ukikuwa mdogo, umezoea usipate mtoto, lakini utafika mahali unataka mtoto na utapata juu umesha fanya hizo mambo sipate. Hata magonjwa, iko na magonjwa mingi kama we bado ni mtoto. Mimi naona wengi wakienda mapidio zinawasumbua juu wameweka hizo mambo. Hauwezi kosa kitu ya kumwambia.
Praise be to God. So ile kitu tumeambiwa hapo ni ati shida when we use contraceptives as girls, we are so narrow-minded that our problem is only to prevent pregnancy. Tunaangalianga mambo ingine yenye inakuja juu ya premarital sex. Ametaja kuna magonjwa, si ndio? Nini zingine zinakuja? There are so many problems that comes along. Wewe unafikiria umeanza kitu ya kwanza, hata unaanza hizo dawa ukiwa ama hizo method ukiwa mdogo sana. Itafika wakati yenye utatafuta huyo mtoto hutamua, maana miaka mingi umekaa sterilize mwili yako. Someone else want to say something?
Bwana Yesu asifiwe.
Amen.
Kwangu ninaweza sema wazazi wenye wanafanya watoto watumie hiyo family planning. Nimewahi ona mama amepea huyo msichana wake freedom ya kufanya kila kitu anataka. Alafu tena baadaye aliblame mamake kwa sababu akakosa mtoto and then akakuwa na ugonjwa. Kwa hivyo vile alienda akaelekea kukufa, aliachia hiyo burden yote mzazi wake.
Thank you for sharing that.
Praise God.
Amen.
I think as parents, whenever we are teaching our children about premarital sex, we should emphasize on abstinence, because as we all know, sex is spiritual. The moment you are getting contact with someone, your spirit inakuingia. So it doesn't just affect our, like, utapata tu magonjwa ama utapata mimba, but spirit yako itakuwa tampered with. Menda na mtu mwenye ako na tu spirit twingine. So utapata tu mambo yako, spiritually you are not okay. So I think as parents, as we are teaching our children about it, let it be grounded on our Christian standard faith.
Values. Thank you so much. I want to give the start of the church as far as sexual immorality is concerned, or sexual intercourse is concerned. I just wanted to have a very brief follow-up before we wait for our physicians, and I think they are here. So let me give the final start. Although we have not exhausted our topic, there is so much to talk about that. Ms. Kelly has mentioned about it's a spiritual thing. That's another very wide teachings that we need to know. But thank you for mentioning that. The church will always stand for holiness. Okay. Sexual intercourse, it's a gift from God. But it is not for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. It is confined under the boundaries of marriage. Man shall leave his father and mother, join together with his wife, and become one flesh. Tunasikia? Najua hii story ya nini hatutaki. Hatutaki, but tunakuja church. Tunajiita Christians. Tunaenda biguni. But hizo mambo ndizo tumefanya kwetu. We have allowed our girls. We have taken them to be given those method, family planning methods. So, if you are not in a marriage unit and you have indulged in yourself with those methods, that is a sin. The church will call it as a sin. I know mambo kwa ground ni tofauti, but we will continue to speak about abstinence. That is what the church speak for. So usiwahi sema hiyo topic haikuongelelewa church. So if you are that person who is doing it, either you are a child, or you are a young person, or you are a parent who does not counsel his or her children, that is a sin. That is a sin. God bless you. Wacha tufugie hapo ili tusikule masaa yenye si yetu, si ndio? Lakini tutaendelea kuongelelea hiyo. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So my name is Dorel Exaba. My names are not Kenyan because I'm not Kenyan. Yeah. But I've been in Kenya for 7 years now, so it's been a while. So I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist at Savannah Hospital. And yes, I was called by Stacy to come and give a talk. So on the, of course, subject, there's a lot of things we can talk about. UTI means urinary tract infection. So it's a urine issue, okay? But it can eventually cause a vaginal issue because they are close to each other. So this picture alone explains the whole idea of UTI, vaginal infections. Something that is also common for women, again, because of exposure of the private part of the vagina. Like when you go to the public toilet and they're not very clean, you can also catch those kind of symptoms or infections. Okay? Of course, there are ways to prevent it, which is hygiene, again. Go back to the hygiene, basic things. Go back to hygiene, avoid putting anything inside, because there's no need. The vagina is self-cleaning, I repeat. Apart from water, there's nothing you should put in to clean it. And you will see there are so many products you will hear. You know, this product will clear your vagina. the vagina is a self-cleaning organ, as long as it's healthy. Okay? So that's the idea again. Good. So now, pregnancy and childbirth. So you see we're progressing from adolescence, menses, reproductive years, pregnancy.
I think there's a question here. No, he already experienced it. Okay, that's it.
So pregnancy, we went through it again. I explained how someone gets pregnant, having sexual intercourse during ovulation. Okay? During the ovulation period. Now, once you conceive, again now it comes with a lot of changes. Because you're going to spend 9 months, or roughly 40 weeks, without having the periods. So your body changes again. That's another set of changes that comes with it. And usually most of the changes happen in the first 3 months, which is 12 weeks. And it's a lot. Because the body is adapting now to a pregnancy state. So you see the leg swelling, you see the facial swelling for some women. Eventually, as the uterus, as the pregnancy grows, the belly will be big, you know. And all that comes from, there's a hormonal side, but also there's a physical changes. As the pregnancy grows, that pressure from the baby, from the weight of the baby, will push around all the organs. It will push around the business. So you have some signs like constipation. You'll have some things like, you go to the toilet, you urinate, but it's not coming out as you want because of that pressure. If it's a big pregnancy around almost term, you have even now stomach issues, acidity, vomiting, nausea, heartburn, you know, all that comes from the pregnancy changes, and it can be a lot for some women. Of course, it comes with a lot of complications. The good thing is that at least pregnancy, generally people know, once you know you're pregnant, go to the hospital. Because again, there are some tests we do to prevent complications, to prevent miscarriages, and all that. And not all things usually, most of the things by now, as long as you go to the doctor, it can be managed, at least. It can be managed and you can go through it in a smooth way, generally. Okay? So, again, pregnancy doesn't only mean pregnancy. Even after delivery, you're still in a pregnancy state, at least up to 6 weeks. Because you can still have a complication, you can still have bleeding, you can still have pain and all that. So we tend to say, even after delivery, do a follow-up until you reach 6 weeks post-delivery. That's a month and a half. Follow-up to prevent all that. You can come with the baby, you can see the wound if you delivered normally or vaginally, or it was a surgery and all that. So pregnancy doesn't just mean conceiving and delivery. Even after that, your body is still in pregnancy state. And now, even after the 6 weeks, now you're breastfeeding, you're even weaker than normal. You're recovering from delivery. So give yourself time. The periods can even take up to 12 months before they come back. For some women, they can come back as early as 3 months, 2 months even, but some 12 months. And it's not abnormal. Just allow yourself to go through that. Okay? So, and that's a transition. There's a transition coming from non-pregnancy state to pregnancy state, and then you go through it, you deliver, and then you're coming back now to normal. The baseline, the one we talked about, the monthly period. So you go back to that now. Because life goes on, and the body is going back to normal. So all that counts. And all that comes with a lot of changes, hormonal changes, mood swings, depression. Depression quote unquote, but sometimes it can go up to depression really, especially post-delivery, because it's a lot of changes, especially first-time mothers, the first pregnancy. It's a lot to the point where you actually think, now, people sometimes get depressed, literally depression, for at least few weeks or few months even. So that's now where social support comes in, usually it's mentioned. Because again, it's not only your baby, or it's not only you going through that, it's the whole family that's going through that. Which is why, let me tell you, teenage pregnancies, the reason why it's devastating is because you find yourself alone. You are young, you don't have a partner, there's no support. Maybe if you are lucky enough to have parents, maybe they can support you, but they're not supposed to. So it's also a burden on them. So you are in a situation where you don't know what to do. Okay, so you find a lot of early teenage pregnancies or people who get pregnant without a support system. They go through a lot of this, especially after delivery. They go through depression. It's a debate, yes, or it's an ongoing discussion. But delivering or having a kid when you don't have a structure or a support system, which is a family, it's going to expose you to a lot of changes in your life. And you don't have to go through that. You can just wait. You can use any method of waiting, either abstinence or other method, but at least don't try as much as you can to not be in that position. Your life will change completely. So it's pregnancy or childbirth or reproductive issues it's not only physical, it's social. It's really social, it's highly social. Okay? Good. So the next thing now, going through that, of course you can have 1, 2, 3 babies, 4, whatever you want. But eventually, as you grow, you will now reach menopause, which is what we talked about now. The menopause now, there are stages there, but literally it means the same thing. The perimenopause is just when you're starting to have those symptoms, the first symptoms. The irregular cycle, the hot flashes. Hot flashes, you just feel hot, even when it's cold. The sweating, just sweat to any time. And it can be disturbing. If it's a woman who is still in her career or, who is still very active, and you just sweat out of nowhere. And active sweating, not just sweating, you just sweat a lot. So it can disturb your work, your career, your social setting and all that. So also this is good to know. Now, menopause is a stage, unfortunately, that has very, very much neglected, even from the medical side. Because again, people don't care about that. Say, those are old people issues, but it's not true. Again, as I told you, people are still young. Late 40s, early 50s. You at least have 20 years in front of you. So 20 years is not, it's a lot, it's a whole life. It's a whole life, so you can't just neglect it. This is something to consider, because now there's a huge changes. Now, among the changes, by the way, I mentioned it there. First of all, we usually say now you have reached your menopause, or you have gone through that, when you've gone through 12 consecutive months without any period. Now, that's when we can say, okay, your menopause process is almost over. So it's a transition period. You go through menopause and you now finish menopause and you are post-menopausal. And that transition can last 1 to 2 years. Again, it's different from women, but roughly that's how it takes. So that transition, that's when now you have those symptoms. They start being, you'll start finding you have irregular cycle. You just have a period today in July, the next one comes in September. And you know you're not pregnant, you know you're not using anything hormonal, but that's how it starts now. That irregularity of the cycle. Plus now the hot flashes, the weight gain. Weight gain is one of the symptoms. The night sweat, mood disturbances. Now something else you will see, but not to all women again, but this is a known symptom of menopause. The labia. Now the labia, let's go back and I'll show you what's a labia. Labia now are those, you can see them, labia. The inner and outer lips of the vagina, what we call labia. They actually shrink, they get small. Physically, you see them shrinking and they get small. That's a sign of menopause. Okay? Which is not common, and most people might not know that, but that's it's a known symptom of menopause. Good. And of course, there are many other changes. It's not just physical or hormonal, but even like your body is really going through the same way you went through a change when you were still an adolescent, from not having any hormone to now starting having period. It's the same way your life changes from having period to not having period. So a lot of things changes. You'll find, let me give you an example. You'll find postmenopausal women or women who have gone through menopause, they have weak bones. So they are more susceptible to fractures. When she falls down and starts with a hip, you'll find a lot of women, postmenopausal women, they have hip fractures here because the bones are weaker than normal. Because one of the components that makes strong bones is estrogen, which is one of the hormones again responsible for the menstrual cycle. So all that counts. So this women's health it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. Good. So that's the idea. I think you've gone through that. I don't have to read everything. Good. Now the last part now, which is cancer, which I had to add it because usually those cancers, they come in the late stage of of the years of a woman, because it comes in 40s. Generally, obviously, we find some cases, especially reproductive cancer. So this is specific. Cancers that actually affect the reproductive organs. And that's, there are 5, as mentioned here. There are the cervix, that's the cervical. I don't know if you remember the cervix. Again, let's go back. The cervix is this part here. You can see it there. And then here. You can see it? This is the cervix. The vagina is here, it's at the entrance. The ovaries, of course, there are 2, as I told you. This is the uterus. Now, those are the organs that are usually affected in female reproductive cancer. Cervix, ovaries, uterus, vagina, and vulva. And vulva, this is the vulva. The whole of this is the vulva. So you can see here, it's written vulva. The whole of this is the vulva. So what you see outside is what we call vulva. Okay? So that also can have its own type of cancers. But the most common are usually cervix, vulval, which is also outside, and ovarian. Those 3 are the most common. Obviously, we find also uterine cancer, but they're not as common. And more specifically, if you have any chronic disease, any, be it hypertension, diabetes, for those who have autoimmune disease, HIV, and etc., anything chronic that you have to be followed up for, you are more exposed to those types of cancers as you grow. So that's why you'll find the follow-up is a bit closer. Especially, now here I have to mention something which is very, very important, and I actually encourage you to do, as long as you are 21 years and above, you are supposed to do screening tests for these cancers. Not all of them, because not all of them have screening tests, but at least there is one you have to know, and that is very, very basic. And that we call it pap smear. Do you know what a pap smear is? Pap smear. Or have you ever heard of it, pap smear or whatever? What is it? What do you think it is?
It's screening for some contraceptive.
Very good. So now, cervix, let's go back again. The cervix, as I showed you, yeah, the cervix is this part. This part, So this part, as I think you've seen it, it's written there, sorry. It's written there, the cervix. It has specifics, the way it's made, it has specific cells that are sensitive to a specific virus, which is called HPV. HPV is human papillomavirus, HPV. And now that HPV is a sexually transmitted disease or infection. So if you are sexually active, what we say is that if you are sexually active and you are 21 and above, that includes married people. Married people, you are sexually active because you have a husband, you are sexually active. So that includes you. As long as you are sexually active and you are more than 21 years, you are supposed to do a pap smear once every 3 years, normally. You're supposed to do a pap smear once every 3 years. And this is recommended to every woman. Again, people don't tend to say it, but that's how it is. Now, the reason why it's very important is because cervical cancer, which is the most common cancer, once we catch it early enough, we can actually treat it completely. This is very important. You can actually cure it literally. You can stop the cancer to spread and stop it. Sometimes even without doing major surgeries, without removing the uterus, without doing that. If you catch it early enough, and now that's why we call it screening. We just make sure it's normal. If you have a normal pap smear, good. See you in 3 years. That's the whole point. We want normal pap smear. Once we start seeing changes, we act now before it becomes a cancer, full-blown cancer. And then now, you know what? Once there's a stage, once we go beyond that stage of cancer, we can't even do anything. We're just helping you with pain, with bleeding, maybe with the spread of that cancer, with chemotherapy, like now difficult treatments that are not even usually very successful. But we could have caught it early and actually stopped from spreading. That's why pap smear is a life-saving tool. It's a life-saving test. Seriously, it's a life-saving test. That's why we say 21 years, sexually active, including married people, come for a screening test for pap smear. It's not a painful test, a bit discomfort, but not painful, very fast, and it's you know now your status. So this is very important. If you can take home any message, take home that one. Pap smear. That's it. Okay? So that's it. Of course, now, the reason why I'm emphasizing on cervical, because again, it's the most preventable. The most preventable. And normally, no one should die from cervical cancer. Normally. In countries that are a bit evolved and have big health systems, you rarely hear someone die from cervical cancer. Almost never. But in our countries in Africa, because maybe lack of information, our health system is not as strong or as accessible, we still have those cases. But normally, cervical cancer is a completely preventable cancer. And it's the most common. Now you can imagine. You know, it doesn't make sense, but it is what it is, and it's sad. But at least it's good to have those forums and talk about it. Good. And again, every cancerous process is quite slow. It's a slow process. So by the time you actually have changes, it means it has been evolving for 10 years, 5, 10, sometimes even 20, 15 years. So that's why instead of facing an already full-blown cancer, when you had 5, 10, 15 years of those screening tests we could have done, the action could have been taken at so many points, but we missed it because there was no pap smear done. So it's very, very sad, really, really sad. Okay? So it's a good thing to know. Good. So yes, of course now the other types of cancers, when you come to the for checkups, they can easily, like for the vulva one, it's just an examination. We just inspect, we see if there's any change outside. Because again, the vulva is outside, don't forget. Whatever you see out is the vulva. Okay? The ovaries, again, it depends. We can feel, we can do a scan just to see if the ovaries are normal or any fluid or any abnormal issue. But the cervix is really the most common and the most easy to prevent. Okay? Now that's the image of how the pap smear is done, so that people don't get afraid. I usually hear people getting afraid of pap smears because they think it's painful. It is not. It's a bit discomfort, I would agree, but it's fast and it's not painful. Very fast, seconds. In 5 seconds, it's done. Okay? So this is the image above. So we put a tool we call speculum to see the cervix, and then we use a brush. It's a brush. Just brush for 5 seconds, even less. And that's it. So it's fast, not painful, life-saving, so really there's no need to not do it. Doesn't make sense to not do it. Okay? Now, I also added the breast. Even though breasts nowadays, it's not under gynecology, it's mainly surgery, but still, for the breast tests, you can actually do a self-breast examination. You don't have to come to the doctor. When you feel an abnormal mass or it's painful when you are pressing, that's when you come and do more other tests. But self-breast exam can actually be done, and you just follow those. So so if you want to examine the left breast, the right breast, use the left side. And just palpate, just touch, feel. Again, I told you, this is nature. There's nothing to be ashamed of. This is nature. You have breasts, it is what it is. The breasts are there. So now we try to prevent now whatever can happen. So you can use a circular manner, you can just feel, or now you can go in a linear way. But the point is, if you feel anything abnormal, if it's more painful, there is a mass, there is any abnormal nipple discharge, just come go to the hospital, let's see what it is. If it's normal, good. It's okay. We came and we found it's normal, that's good. If it's abnormal, now we can act. And early enough to save your life now. Okay? So that's the idea. Good. Now, I cannot, of course, finish without mentioning this, even if I kept mentioning it. Emotional and psychological impact. During all those things we talked about, adolescence, the beginning of period, the pregnancy, the change, all the disorders that can happen in menstrual, the pain, the bleeding, the pregnancy, the hormonal changes, the delivery, the post-delivery, the breastfeeding, the menopause. You see, it's a lot. It's a lot, actually. It's a lot of changes. And all those things, it can sound funny, but so that's why I'm saying usually women, the way women experience life is completely different from what men experience life. It's two different things. So it's completely two different things. So that's why there is an emotional and psychological impact. So you have sometimes to understand yourself, again, have a support system, have at least people around you, either partners or family or whatever, who can help you in case anything bad happens and help you go through that. Because already naturally, it's not even that easy. Okay? Yeah. Just that we get used to it, just say, it's okay, this is nature. But sometimes it can be tricky. Okay? So that's it. That is it. I think that's the essence of my message here. Of course, we can have questions, discussions, but that's the idea. So I have a conclusion, but generally, we talked about it. I kept mentioning it. The emotional well-being, the social aspect, the physical, of course, aspect. So all that, it's good to know. It's good to know it. It's good to not be ashamed of it, especially in families or even in these kinds of forums. Talk about it the way they are. It's nature, it's here. If it's sexual intercourse, talk about it. If it's pregnancy, talk about it. If it's how to prevent a pregnancy, talk about it, because it will affect lives. You can imagine someone who is 16, let's say. She was not told about all this. She gets pregnant. She comes to you at 20 weeks and it's been 5 months, I don't have my period. I think I'm different, maybe I'm blessed. You examine, you find a 20 weeks pregnancy. Now, think at 16, think about that life now. Her life will change completely. Just because she was not given information. And this happens a lot. We see a lot of those cases. Good. So I think that will be it. Thank you. And we can proceed to questions.
Unaweza kuuliza kwa Kiswahili ama kwa Kiburundi? Pia mimi ni Mburundi. My question is, my mom alizaa mtoto wa mwisho akikuwa 52 years. Hapo ni nini? Sielewi.
Good question. Now, see, remember I told you the beginning of periods and the end of periods, it varies. It's a range. It's not a specific, it's not 45 for all women. It's not 50 for women. It's a range. So, the same way, I'm sure here everyone has their own age when they started having menses. It can be 10, 11 for some, 14, 15, 13. It's different. It's the same thing with menopause. Women don't go to menopause at the same time. It can be, for some we'll find even 42, they're in menopause. For some 55, for some 50. That late 30s is it's not common, but you can have some cases, but generally it depends. So 52, maybe she was still having her periods. Yes. If you can conceive, it means you are still having your ovulation. Because there's no conception without an egg that is released, which is ovulation. So it just means she got her menopause a bit late in her life. So 52, yeah, there are some cases. It's okay. It's not abnormal. It's not a problem. You know, yeah. So it's okay. No problem. The mtoto wako sawa? So you see, yeah, that's good.
Ingine niko nayo, ukikuwa kwa period, kuna venye damu inakuja kama maji, ama ingine inakuja kama mao. Mzuri ni wapi? Shida ni nini?
That's good. That's a good question. Okay, okay. I can say it's a problem, but the most important is what I talked about: heavy bleeding, ama severe pain. Kama inakuja kama maji or mawe, whatever, as long as it's not heavy. Heavy, it means more than 4 to 5 parts per day. Yeah? Sawa? Ukienda sasa more than that, that's a problem. Uja, we try to look at the issues. Sawa? And there are tests we do. We can do a scan, we can look at the cervix, we can do things to check of any issue. Now, something I have to mention at this point is for cervical cancer again. I'm going back. There is some sign you will find, abnormal sign that comes way before, and that's abnormal bleeding. You just bleed anytime. Okay, it can be your clothes, inatoka kama maji, but you just bleed anytime. When you're not having your periods, especially women who are postmenopausal, postmenopausal, if you bleed or you see an abnormal bleeding, you're not expecting a bleeding, but you bleed, that's not normal. And that's usually the first signs of a cervical issue. So, kuja, or again, if your periods are heavier than normal, that's one of the tests we do, to the pap smear I told about, to rule out that. But usually it's about the heaviness. Type of, inaweza kuja kama clots or mawe, as you say, ama maji, but the point is heaviness, how heavy it is, and how painful.
And pass the mic around.
Well, I support the fact that you've talked about menstruation, how it can affect one or a teenager. In that case, I can relate with my case where I think in a way or another, teachers were shy of teaching us that. And so when I started bleeding, I actually thought it was just a bleeding. And so I started running around and just wondering, Kwani, what is this kind of bleeding that doesn't stop? And so I was just all over shouting and wondering whatever was happening. So I just approached someone who was very far. Of course, my dad was around, but he could not allow those kinds of conversation. Ilikuwa ni kama unaonyesha aibu or something. And so when I approached that person, he's the one who explained to me that I needed to put some pads. So that is the moment that I learned that kumbe kuna kitu kama kubleed. So I encourage that it is true. Then there's something that you've just explained about pap smear done by especially those who are sexually active. Is it only for those who are sexually active? Or yeah.
Now, it's a good question. Now, the response is actually in the question. Because as I told you, cervical cancer is caused only by HPV. And I talked about HPV, human papillomavirus, is a sexually transmitted disease. So, theoretically, if you're not sexually active, there's no way you were exposed to that. Because it's sexually transmitted disease. Okay? So you will find, although again, we encourage everyone to do it, especially when you have abnormal signs, but the target market, if I can use that term, is sexually active people. And that includes everyone, married people, not married, and more than 21 years. 21 years is the cutoff, because again, you are fully matured for the cervical cells to develop that, or to respond to those kind of cases. Although you find some cases, I remember when I was working in Kenyatta, there was an 18-year-old with cervical cancer. 18. That was like, it's very rare. But again, she had started sexual activity very early in her life. Explain that. But the idea is that if you understand what's happening, it's not just any cancer. It has a specific progression, and it starts from HPV. Okay? I don't know if I answered for that.
Okay, nina swali. Nina msichana ambaye sometimes she can stay like 2 to 3 months ndio apokee siku zake za siku. Is that normal? And then akireceive that period, anaenda in that, hizo cramps zinamuuma mpaka unaona analala, inamuuma tu kama mtu mgonjwa. Is that normal?
That's not normal. That's why I was telling you, bleeding pain, that's not normal. Hakuna miaka ngapi? I can ask. Hakuna miaka? You see, she's still young. Just become, just consult. Go to a gynecologist. We there are ways we can help her.
And that 2 to 3 months, and anakaa for that 2 to 3 months. Kwa sawa kweli?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's not no. She's supposed to have regular cycle, your monthly cycle. Okay? But because she's young, mainly it might be a mainly hormonal issue, but it's okay. There's more questions we should ask. Huh? Yes, it's better. But that's not normal. That's the answer.
Okay, and then hizo cramps wakati zinamuuma, huwa naona kuna dawa wananunua za kumeza ndio zipoeshe hizo cramps. Zitakuwa na side effect baadaye.
Okay, not really. Dawa za uchungu, they usually don't have long-term side effects. But of course, ukuje tu, it's better if you come. So, it's better if you go kwa consultation, gynecologist, specifically, not any doctor, go kwa gynecologist, so that we can actually help her. It's better.
Okay, niko na swali nyingine. Kuna shida ya mama wakati anapokea mimba. Unasikia kwamba mimba iko nje ya nyumba yake. Ni nini huwa inachangia sana?
Good question. So, I think now we should go back to this. Huh? So, nakumbuka, I was telling you how someone gets pregnant. So the egg is released from the ovary, either right or left, whichever. So inatembea in the tube, going to the uterus. If you are sexually active or you are trying to conceive, the sperm now will come inside. So zinakutana usually in the tubes, either right or left. Now, if for one reason or another, it can be because of infection, it can be because of what we call tubal adhesions, or any problem in the upper tubes. Iyo mimba, instead of coming now back, ikue hapa, it gets stuck here. But already, the sperm and the egg zimeisha meet, so they're already a pregnancy. It's a small, tiny pregnancy, but it's a pregnancy. So when it gets stuck here in the tubes, which is common, inaweza kuwa stuck in the ovary, hapa nje, ama ndani in the tube. Most common is in the tube. Most common, 80%, 90%, 70% of it. Inakuwa stuck hapa in the tube. Now when it's stuck in the tube, remember it's already a pregnancy. And pregnancy grow. Tendelea grow. Wherever it is, it will grow. So kama iko kwa tube, and you can see the difference between the uterus and the tube. Tubes is tiny. It's a very tiny organ. So ukifika 6, 8 weeks, 9 weeks there, this tube will not be able to contain that pregnancy. So it will rupture. It will just open up. Because it's too small. It's not a uterus. So it will rupture. These are what we call ectopic pregnancies. I don't know if you've heard of that. Ectopic or extrauterine. There are many terms. But essentially, ni mimba imeenda nje ya uterus, as you exactly said. And this is an emergency because it can kill. Once that your tube is ruptured, now you start bleeding, you have a lot of pain, and you can even die. So usually that's an emergency. This is one of the emergencies in our field. And the only way to deal with it is to do a surgery, kutoa hiyo mimba, and to stop the bleeding. So, and usually when it's ruptured, that whole tube is usually affected. But remember, for you to conceive, you need one tube and one ovary. Okay? So as long as the other one is working, and you still have your period, you can still conceive again. Okay? Many people conceive after ectopics. That's not even a problem. So, that's a good question.
To add on the issue of the ectopic pregnancy, if it happens and the fallopian tube ruptures, so the eggs in that ovary, where do they go?
What do you mean? What do you mean the eggs of the ovary?
No, the ova. The ova in called the ovary. The eggs rather. Because now there's no passage. When the fallopian tube ruptures, I'm assuming the passage is damaged.
Good. Now this is why I actually brought this other picture. The real, how it looks really. So you say this is a drawing. This is how it looks really. So you will find the left ovary is actually not very far from the right tube. So you can actually ovulate from the left side, and the egg can go into the other side of the tube. Exactly. Absolutely.
Okay, that's a lot of curiosity. Yeah. My question was around, I have a couple of questions.
It's okay. You can-
Around, I have heard about the HPV vaccine. If you could talk about that.
Good. Actually, I've forgotten about that. Yes. Now, the vaccine is on the prevention side. Actually, there are two methods of prevention. The pap smear, obviously, which is a screening test. Now, the vaccine now is a prevention test. Now, before you get exposed to that, okay, which is usually it's usually a government program because again, those vaccines are usually quite expensive, and they are given before. We call it before sexual debut. Before you start, you usually having sexual intercourse, and you see the target usually is between 12 and 15-year-old, and even boys. Because again, remember, okay, I didn't mention that, but the HPV, the reason why HPV causes cervical cancer is because the cells on the cervix, they react to the HPV. But men, the way the reproductive system is for men, we have a penis. So there's no cervical cells. We don't have cervical cells. It's only skin around our organ, which means we can carry HPV. We can be healthy carriers of HPV, but not get anything. Actually, men are healthy carriers of HPV. So you can spread it around from one woman to another without having issues because we don't have cervical cells. So we won't have that. But because women have cervical cells, they will react to that. Now, that's why now HPV even includes boys. HPV vaccine, even includes boys. But again, usually in other countries that are a bit more advanced, it's part of the vaccination program. Once they hit puberty or the beginning of puberty, it's part of what they get. But again, these are expensive in production. Even in Kenya, it's available, but you have to pay for it unless there's a campaign. But I know in Kenyatta they have it. Most of the referral hospitals, they have it. Sometimes for free, sometimes not, depending on the funding and all that. But it's also one of the ways of addressing cervical cancer, absolutely. But it does not replace pap smear. Never. It cannot replace. Pap smear is number one because it's easy, it's cheap, it's accessible, it does the job. So yeah, but it's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the last question on menstruation in two parts. The first one is menstruation, like when it starts and even when you go to menopause, is it genetic? I have had conversations. Okay, I remember when I was young and my mom would keep asking me kama zimekuja, and she felt that they had delayed because they came later when I was in high school. And then I had conversations of it's genetic. If your mom gets them at maybe when she's 10, her daughter or your daughter rather, that's the same age. So that's the first question. Then the second question, someone is asking, there's a question of if your periods have not come for a long period of time, say like 4 years, you're not yet menopause, you're not pregnant, what could be the issue?
Okay. So number one, there is a genetic component, absolutely. Absolutely, like any other thing. The same thing, like some diseases are genetically transmitted, the same way. Generally, although it's not really I wouldn't say a well-studied issue, but let me give you an example. To give you an idea of how the hormonal side of women is influenced by many, many things. You would notice, and that's actually a known phenomenon, if you live with maybe we live with 4 girls or 5 girls, and you live for a long period of time, you would actually starting to realize you almost have a similar cycle. So because of maybe you're exposed to the same food, same environment, almost the same environment like for 4 or 5 years. This happens in your university, the campus or whatever. You will actually notice that because the hormonal side, which is says literally, usually is influenced by many, many things you don't even know, including genetic components, especially when you start and when you finish. Generally, that's the idea. But again, it's not a well-studied, field. So you can't really say this is it. But from observation, it usually happens that way. So there's a genetic component, absolutely. Now, the second part, the 4 years without periods, that is definitely not normal. Of course, it depends on the age, of the history, if there's anything that happens before that. Again, when you are consulting, there are many questions we ask so that we rule out all the possible causes. But generally, missing period for such a long period of time, it's a hormonal issue. Most of the complaints is actually having abnormal heavy period, abnormal heavy, or they come twice a month, or they come, it's on the heavier side rather than the lack of it. But the lack of it, that's not normal. So if you are in your 20s, 30s, even 40s, yeah, come and you see. There are many issues that can happen, many problems. So we have to investigate all that.
Okay, the last question about the screening. Maybe you can tell us how much the pap smear costs a day. And then lastly, I've been in forums where we've done the breast screening practically. I know we would say go and do the circles, but maybe there's someone who hasn't understood what are we looking for, and actually how do you, so I'm wondering, I know you have a female colleague, if we can do it practically, maybe you can guide her and we can all see how to go about it.
The first question was?
If you can give us a range of how much the pap smear costs.
So pap smear, first of all, it's covered by most of the insurance, almost all of them. Because again, it's a life-saving test. That's known. But again, if you don't have a cover and you have to pay cash, I think it's 4,000. That's around it's 4,000. Okay? Yes. But if you have a cover, I'm sure it's included. And the second demonstration, well, it's okay. We will see. We will see. But the idea is that you are looking for a lump, not even mass. If I say mass, maybe it can be confusing. You can feel something hard, a hard part. Sometimes it's painful, sometimes it doesn't have to be painful. You don't have to feel pain. But you want to feel a hard part, and it's not there on the other side. Now, come and we see if it's actually abnormal or not. Now, hard part. It's the lump, any hard parts you can feel. There's the nipple discharge when you're not breastfeeding. Any abnormal nipple discharge. That's also abnormal.
Nataka kuuliza ukiingia kwa periods mara pili per month, unafaa kwenda kwa usikuuliza nini kama
So it depends. Now the good question. Now it depends. We usually say period is abnormal. Kama iko less than 24 days or more than 35 days. So now 24 days, it's less than a month. So kama unapata yako, let's say 21 days, that's a normal cycle. Between 20, it's 24, but it's plus or minus few days, even 35. So let's say you have your periods in April to 11th. Okay, let's just start at the beginning of the month, 1st of July, let's say. And the next one in Abuja on 24th of July or 22nd of July. You see, unapata mara mbili in 1 month, but that's a normal period. Okay, so it's not, okay, that's a good question. See your kama months are like the 30 days. No. When you talk about monthly cycle, you're not talking about the 30 days month. We're talking about those 24 to 35. But it can go up to 21 sometimes, which is not abnormal. But as long as it's regular, inakuja hivyo, but regularly now. You see, that's a normal cycle. You understand? Yeah.
Swali lingine, kwa kacha ya wa Burundi tuko na venye tukienda choo tunatumia maji, lakini nikifika huku Kenya niliona wengi wanatumia tishu. Mimi mzuri gani mzuri unafaa kutumia aje hizo magonjwa zisikupate?
Okay. Personally, maji is better. Water is better, always better. Because tissues, unajua, you don't know who touched it before. Always jua if there's anyone who touched it before. But of course, it's at least clean. But maji, water is better always. Because it's neutral, water is what? Always better. So that's on me now. Of course, now it's culture, whatever. But,
Unafaa kutumia aje?
Aje what? Maji. Hapa tu nje, just clean outside. That's it. Yeah. Just clean outside.
Thank you.
My question is, what causes prolapse? And another one about birth on cyst.
Sawa. So again, as I told you before, for women's issues, you can spend a week, a seminar, a week talking about all those things, because there's so many things. So prolapse usually happens in, again, women, generally it's women who have delivered many kids. So the uterus was imekuwa kubwa mara mingi. You get one baby, gets big, you deliver. After a few years, you get second baby, gets big, you deliver. So those ligaments, or those muscles, they get weaker and weaker. So now, ukifika menopause, with all the changes we saw, the bone density, the weak bones, the weak muscles and all that, now the uterus, let me go back actually, the uterus, usually, okay, in that picture it's not there, but the uterus is held up by some ligaments, muscles kabisa, so that it can stay up. But again, the more you get pregnant, the more you deliver, the more you get pregnant, those ligaments or muscles, they get weak. So itateremuka sasa chini, through the vagina, because those muscles are weaker now, they can't hold it. Which is usually an issue that happens in the late 50s, around menopause. That's a very common issue. We call it uterine prolapse. So it actually goes down. You see a mass coming out from the vagina. You know, literally, something you don't know. But of course, because now we know what it is, we know how to deal with it, that's what happens. That's usually a typical history of prolapse is a lot of conception and deliveries, and usually 4, 5 and above. Okay?
Is it curable?
Yes, there are some surgeries we can do. Absolutely. So there's no need to think, I will have to live like this. No. Again, as I told you, women are not supposed to suffer. Some cultures are just admitted that it's okay. If you're a woman, you'll have a life of suffering, and this is nature. No, it's not nature. It's not nature. There are ways, definitely. There's many options we actually have for that specific issue. Now, Bartholin cyst now is one of the vulval infection. So remember the vulva? Because it's outside. Some infection can actually block. In this picture, it's not there, but when in the vulva, you see, let me give you an example. When you are, again, I told you this is nature, there's no need to be ashamed. Again, I don't know if you've noticed, especially older women, when you are either excited or about to have sex, the vulva is wet. Where do you think that wetness comes from? That's a very good question, and I want a response. Okay, not Stacy. Stacy talks too much. Anyway, where do you think that wetness comes from? Good. So there are some things called a Bartholin gland. Those are glands supposed to make the vulva wet to get ready for sexual intercourse. I told you again, this is nature. No shame. You see, this is nature. This is how God wanted it. So there's no need to be ashamed. So now when those glands are blocked now because of infection, we talked about infection, and they are recurrent. Usually by the time you have a Bartholin cyst or what we call Bartholinitis, it is recurrent non-treated infections. So they block those glands, which usually they are down there, they are around the vagina. So yeah, they are usually here, around the vagina, just below, around the vagina, those glands. And you can, I'm not going to say go and check at home, but you can actually see them, those small openings around the vulva, around the vagina. So when they are blocked, they get inflamed, now it becomes an inflammation. It gets big, it's very painful. Bartholin cyst is very, very painful. Yeah, people scream, they come to hospital when they are screaming. But it's, again, easily treatable. That's very, very easily treatable. Good, that's it.
Can it cause cancer?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Bartholin cyst?
Yeah.
No, not at all. Again, if you know what the cause of cancer, again, as I told you, from the reproductive system, it is HPV. It's not any infection. It is the viral infection from HPV. And then not even any HPV, some specific types of HPV. Okay? So no, definitely no.
Swali yangu ni unapata kuna wale watu wanaenda period na siku moja, is it normal?
question. Now, when it's siku moja, again, okay, this is not a consultation, but I'll have to ask many questions. Like imeanza lini, is it regular? How heavy is it? Unapata nini? Do you have signs of ovulation? Hizo. So one day, I wouldn't say it's abnormal, but it's not common. So if you have one day and it has been consecutive, just consult. Because there are many questions I would have to ask Appa, and you know, we are many here. It can be private. So, but it's not. I don't want to say it's abnormal, but it's good to consult so that we make sure all of that issues are okay. So,
initially you said that the vagina is naturally acidic. That's self-cleansing. We don't need to wash it using other ways. And you say that infections comes when there is no balance. So my question is, what causes that imbalance? That's the first question. The other one I wanted to know, are there vaccines, cancer vaccines at a later stage? Because we normally hear only for the young girls. Yes.
So first question is what causes the imbalance? Many things causes the imbalance. Now, first of all, let me tell you, most of the infections you've had in your life as women, you are not even aware of. Because the vagina treated that without you even knowing. That's first. Now, the ones that now push you to come to the hospital are the ones now that your vagina was not able to clear. Either because it's a strong infection, or either because maybe it came when you are in your vulnerable moments. And usually it's pregnancy status again, as I told you. When you are pregnant, you are weaker than normal. So you are susceptible to get those infections. Recurrent, they are easily treatable, yes, but they can come again. It can be treated after a few months, it comes again and again. So pregnancy can cause the imbalance, or can make you not being able to fight against those infections. That's number one. Again, generally when you're around having a period and ovulation, those are two specific also. Weak or vulnerable moments for women, so you can also get that. Because the balance in the vagina is not as strong as it's supposed to be. So that can cause strong infection, pregnancy, or during those two periods can cause that. Huh? Now, number two, with your question, vaccine, the word vaccine, the whole idea of vaccine is to prevent something before it happens. So if it has already happened, the vaccine is not coming to do anything. So vaccine, that's why we give it at beginning of adolescence, before people start to get sexually active. Because once they start and they get exposed to that, like there's no place for vaccine anymore. Because we're not preventing. I don't know if you understand.
I thought it was a cancer vaccine.
Yes, to prevent the HPV.
If you have not gotten it, then it will work for you. So we normally hear only for young girls. So I was wondering at a later stage, I'm talking of a person who is not infected.
Okay, good, I understand.
And there are such vaccines.
Good, yes, it's the same, it will be the same, but you'll have to make sure you don't have it first. Which means you'll have to do the pap smear. We know if you're not infected, you can do an HPV test. Yes. If all those are negative, we can still give it. Absolutely. But it's the same vaccine, it's not a different one. But in that case, if maybe you come at 25, you're being sexually active, and you want a vaccine, we will have to do those tests first. Exactly. Then we can put it to you.
How effective are they?
Yes, good. They are not 100% effective, which is why I said vaccines do not replace pap smears. So it's really around 60% of coverage. But again, because pap smear is actually very important, because we go pap smear, that's why we say you are supposed to do it once every 3 years, because it follows you your whole life, so that we can catch it early. So even vaccine is good, but pap smear is essential.
Well, mine is Maybe I'm curious about how to use water maybe after the call, because now does it mean that you'll have to undress everything? I'm just curious. Then this a friend of mine was bleeding, and that was abnormal bleeding, as you've talked about. And when went to the hospital, was told about hormonal imbalance. So I don't get that. Also, can one miss periods maybe for 2 months, maybe January and February, then March you receive it in double portion? Is that possible? Then the last one, there's a part of, I've seen like mostly in children, that that part of anus is protruded kind of, or having something like growth. I don't know where that one comes from. Okay.
Okay, so the first one, the first question is about the hormonal imbalance. Now, the hormonal imbalance, again, let me go back to something I mentioned to Stacy. Menstrual cycle are heavily influenced by hormones. An example, if weight loss, if you lose a lot of weight in 2 months or 3 months, you lose like 10 kg, definitely you will see a change in your menses, in your periods. They can be a bit less heavy, they can be a bit heavier, but they change because the whole body has to respond to that. Okay? That's an example. Weight gain. If you change the environment, you go from a hot place to a cold place, definitely your menstrual cycle will change also. In terms of duration, in terms of heaviness. So it's not something that is set. It goes with you from wherever you're going through. If you are stressed at work, definitely you will see. There are some women who are very sensitive when they are stressed, or even when they are getting married, because that's where the most stress is. The period just go, or they become heavy, for example. So I just want you to have the idea that whatever you expose your body to affects your menstrual cycle. Okay? Because it's you, it's part of you. It's not just periods. It's your whole being, it's your whole body. Okay? So, yes, it can happen. Which is why now you go a bit deeper in the history. What has been happening in your life, either stress or a new change in your life, all those things. And eventually you have to do some tests. We check the cervix, we do the scan to make sure we don't miss anything. But the idea is that it's not just, having periods is not just periods. It comes with a lot. Your whole life is involved. Okay? That's number one, which is what we usually call hormonal imbalance. But it's not really that, It's bigger than that. Okay? Good. So I think I forgot some of the questions. Number 2 was?
Number 2 was how to go with the clinic.
The clinic. Now, the clinic is very basic. I don't know if you've ever seen the call them bidet, or the things usually Muslims use in their toilet. They have like a splash, something that splashes water. I don't know how to call it.
Let me explain.
Yeah.
I know when before they introduced ukienda, it's mostly in newer hotels or 3-star to 5-star hotels. In the washroom you'll find a pipe iko hapo kando. So that pipe is what they usually put there for the Muslims mostly, because as per their religion they're supposed to clean that way. So us ladies, we sit on the toilet. So assuming you've sat on the toilet, I'm not sure if you can bring it to the front or the back, but you just press that yes, then it splashes the water. Yeah, so it splashes the water, but I think you need to still dry yourself because it's a lot of water, so you don't have to undress everything. So that's in situations where it's available. Yeah, so I would just say, if you go to a hotel and it's there, please be curious and use it. It's actually, you actually notice it cleans you much better, but it feels funny.
It feels funny, that's true. Yeah.
But it's not bad.
But that's why I was telling her, water is better. Way better. And again, don't forget what I said. That part, especially the vagina, is a self-cleaning organ. So you're just making sure everything is out just by using water. Outside, you don't have to put your fingers or anything, you know. So it's very basic, very basic. Your last question was? Yeah.
There can be double portion of period if you missed it.
Yes, so that's why I mentioned the first time that it's okay. It's if from then on they start being regular, I might not really worry about that much, you know. But if they keep being, you know, once every 2 months, once every 3 months, now you might have to consult now, because again there are many causes which I might not go through now, you know. But it's not normal if it's consistently irregular. You understand that? So if it comes, let's say, twice, once after 3 months, and again after 3 months, and again after 2 months, now that's not regular. But if it happens once, and then it starts becoming regular, I wouldn't worry much about that. So consistent irregular cycle that you don't really, there's no major issues in your life, just consult. Then we can check. And there are many things you can do to make it regular again, if there is no underlying issue.
You mentioned that in menopause, that means in women that all your eggs are exhausted. Now, in this case, I'm going to ask, can they be exhausted when you only have maybe 2 children at home?
Yes, of course. No, good question. That's a very good one. Why they get exhausted? Remember, every month you are releasing an egg. Now, even if it's only one egg that was released, many eggs are, we use the term recruited from the pool, like 15 to 20 every month. From those 15 to 20, only one gets released. But now it's 15 to 20 every month from 13, 12, 14, up to 40 something. Those are almost 400,000. It's a lot, because it's every month, don't forget. So that's why, even if you're not getting pregnant, still every month you are losing. Okay, I don't want to use the word lose, because you're not really losing, but they're getting released from the ovaries. So that's why it gets depleted.
The last one, protruding in the anus.
Oh yes, the hemorrhoid. Most likely, the way you described it, any protruding from the anus, generally speaking, it's around hemorrhoid issues. But for kids, because you mentioned kids, they usually resolve by themselves. But obviously, if they don't, now you consult. Now, what you consult is not gynecologist, because it's anus. It's many surgeons now, general surgeons. But most of them for kids, I would say they resolve. For small babies especially, they resolve after a few months, even years. But when it's painful, it's bleeding, sometimes they bleed, now that's a problem. You have to consult them. Again, there are ways to address it.
So in kids, it's okay. In adults, it's gender.
Yeah, it's not okay. Because in adults, maybe, generally, they tend to come. Now, there's a big component of that. Weight is a big component of hemorrhoids. Generally speaking, you will tend to say overweight people or people on the heavier side will tend to have those. Or pregnant ladies actually have hemorrhoids. It's one of the symptoms of pregnancy, hemorrhoids. But usually after delivery, they tend to go back to normal. But if you are not pregnant, it's consistently out, it's painful, it's bleeding, even if it's painful, pain is enough. They don't even have to bleed. Or they are not resolving themselves. If it comes worse, maybe because of constipation for a long period of time and it goes away, I wouldn't worry. But if it's there, no constipation, no other signs, just consult. Because it's a known condition that sometimes needs medical attention.
Okay, I think we have asked a lot of questions. Maybe, Doc, we can take one more. If there's a pressing question, na hujauliza. Just one more. Anyone? Okay, I'm hoping, Doc, before we release you, maybe you'll give us a few 10 to 15 minutes for anyone who might feel they have a private question. Yeah, but thank you so much. I wanted to know if you would like to introduce your team.
They can actually come, introduce themselves. Come, Bedoni and
Hi everyone. Hi. My name is Gavani and I'm part of the Savannah team.
Good evening. My name is Daniel and I'm also part of the Savannah Hospital team.
Okay, thank you so much, Doc. I want us to give them a round of applause. Si ametufunza mengi sana, na naona maswali yaziishi. And the good thing with a doctor, you can ask them even the question you think ni the least silly question you feel you'd never ask. That is the beautiful thing about having a doctor in the room. So tusimame tumpigie makofi daktari wetu. And here, let us also take time to learn about their hospital, because if you're going to see a gynecologist, you want Dr. Dorel to be the one in the room, si ndio? Yes. Ukiingia pale ni yeye unapata, unamwambia mimi nimetoka kanisa gani? Unamkumbusha. So, let's go. 1, 2, 3, go. Again. Again. Yabu. Again. Again. And then. Abarikiwe tena. Ubarikiwe, ubarikiwe sana. Mwambie. Bwana Yesu anampenda. Hata sisi tunakupenda. Hata wenzake tunawapenda. So let us not keep the knowledge we've gotten here today. Light your candle and go and light another candle. Enda ufunze mwingine. So that together we keep spreading the knowledge. And when you talk about it, you will not forget it for yourself. So mine is to thank everyone for being here with us today. To thank the church for giving us this forum. Because if the church haingetupea space, tungefanya nini? Tungeenda kukutana wapi? You know? To thank Savannah Hospital for giving us Dr. Dorel and his team to be able to join us here. To thank our chefs who have taken care of us today, not forgetting also our photographer and videographer, Jura, and the technical team for supporting us. Even if they are male, they are here to also learn something new. Wamejua hata they are the carriers of HPV. Yeah? So we all need to be careful out there, right? We've all learned something new. And so thank you so much to everyone. May God bless you all. As we close, I want to ask Mrs. Theory that you may pray for us.